All right, we are recording.
Hi, welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast brought to you by High Noon Hard Seltzer. It is wonderful and delicious, and I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but Kayce Smith is.
And Big Ev is too. Ev, I ask you, by the time we came back from the 4th of July, did you do your homework and try the new teas?
I did indeed. I had the peach. I was by a lake, and it was lovely.
The peach tea is absolutely by far my favorite High Noon. I know the regular vodka seltzer peach is my favorite flavor, but these teas, like, they are just unbelievable. They have like a completely different taste than the vodka seltzers, the tequila seltzers, and it really rounds it out, doesn't it? It's like you've got one for every mood, Ev, every mood.
I mean, it's delicious. I mean, like I said, it does have it's got the iced tea, which iced tea is perfect. It's summertime. I know Brandon loves his tea. I mean, what better than peach tea, High Noon? Fantastic.
They also, and I know that the Fiesta tequila pack is very popular right now, but a lot of my friends who have tried the new High Noon teas talk about how good just the regular tea flavor is. And like anybody that's a big iced tea drinker, which I know you are, Brandon, and so am I, like if you get a bad tasting iced tea, like it is, I mean, it's top of, like, it's not just like it's a little flat if you get a flat soda or like, you know, a drink that does it. Bad tea is bad. Good tea, elite.
Bad tea is bad. Correct. What wonderful, wonderful quote right off the top by Kayce Smith. Bad tea is bad.
Bad tea is bad. Good tea is elite. And High Noon has elite tea. So go to highnoonspirits.com, find a pack New Year. They're everywhere. We were just talking before we started recording. We're on the downhill in a good way, catching speed going into the college football season. And tailgates are coming up. High Noon, High Noon, High Noon. Bad tea is bad. High Noon tea, elite.
It's time to get serious about college football. You're starting to get the useless summer posts from everybody. You're starting to get here's the 3 players who are going to media days. I don't give a shit. Here's the 77 guys that are named to the preseason best left guard watch list. Who cares? I mean, like these watch lists and these media days, they try to keep us informed and keep us. They want us to click on them in July. But we're rolling downhill. Once July 4th hits, we're rolling downhill. We're inside 50 days of college football now. Like it's getting serious.
It is the feeling of SEC. I mean, I know SEC media days are obviously usually like the biggest circus one. It is a good feeling though, because it's officially when like all the random bullshit stops. And I'm not saying that media days as a whole aren't random bullshit, because they are, but you're still at least getting like new quotes, new, different depth charts, whatever. At least we have new things to talk about. Leading up to media days, you're just begging for content. Now we're going to get it, even if a lot of it is not that great.
Do you know where SEC media days is?
It's in Nashville now, right?
No, I didn't know where it was until yesterday. I looked. It's not in Nashville this year.
Where is it?
It's in Dallas.
I'm in Dallas.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You could go do karaoke with a bunch of stupid white sports writers.
Oh, well, it's next week. I'll be back in New York by then. But
okay.
Why did I think it was in? Because I remember
it's been in Nashville a couple times, but
Katie really wanted us to go to Nashville because we were explaining that we've both been to the Hoover parade, and it was awful. Yeah, and it was like, because I went multiple years. I actually got my job at ESPN there one year, so I won't even that year was fine, but the other one's useless. And she really wanted to go to Nashville, and we finally had to tell her, like, Katie, it's not what you think it is.
It's not what you think it is. You think it's a week-long concert, and you get to watch all the coaches and the players, and they entertain. It's not. It's a cattle auction. They walk them in. They keep them on a leash. You're like, hey, can I ask him a question? No, get away. And I'm like, it is not what you think it is.
I guess it makes sense that it's in Dallas this year with the additions of Texas and OU. Like, did they do it because of that?
No, really. Did they go through with that? Texas and Oklahoma are in the SEC?
You know what I will say, and I could be incorrect.
Yeah. But
it seems that OU did not celebrate getting into the SEC the way Texas did. Texas got all the bells and whistles. They had SEC. Like Laura was there, Paul Feinbaum was there. They were shooting off like fireworks. I didn't see shit from Oklahoma. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying one was not the same as the other.
Next thing you're going to tell me Oregon and USC are in the Big Ten, okay? Come on.
I'm saying
you hear this, broad?
that maybe we got to really get used to it because it's going to be tough.
Oh yeah, no, you know what? I think I appreciate college football and Big Ev. Nobody's going through more change in the Big Ten this year. I think I just got to get used. I'm glad they threw all the change at us at once. 12-team playoff here, NIL here. You want West Coast teams in the ACC? Fuck it, here. I was looking. I'm looking at all the schedules and doing really all the background work now, really getting into it. And I was looking at Florida State's schedule, and I'm like, all right, so yeah, they got Clemson, they got NC State, they play Duke, and then of course they play Cal, and then SMU. Yeah, I was like, my mind stopped me for a second. Like, whoa, what's going on?
What really hit me was I forget who posted it, but Cal from their official page posted like their logo with the ACC on the grass and on the field, and I was like, this is a simulation.
And the first time I looked at Ohio State's schedule, in my mind I went, damn, Oregon's a good ass non-conference game, man. That's it takes guts to go out to Oregon in the non-conference, Big F, but you're not.
No, Ev and I were texting yesterday about like Texas and Michigan and how like that in general is just like a fantastic uniform game, like blue bloods and like, oh, Michigan. And by the way, Texas in the SEC now. So we like right out of the gates in week 2, we have a Big Ten SEC matchup that's like marquee. And it's like, it's just so hard to like have to figure out exactly where everything is, but we're all going to be doing it together. That's the nice thing. Like when somebody pops up.
What do you make of the rumors that A&M's talking to the Big Ten?
I don't think that's true. I mean, if it is true and it's because Texas is in the SEC, I think that looks very weak. And it doesn't make sense to do. But I don't know.
All right. Well,
come on down. More the merrier. We'll
if it like the problem to me, first of all, I would rather stay in the SEC just because of like the geographic and like I like being in the SEC. Also, it would look like we were running away from Texas and OU, which is why we went to the SEC in the first place. Like, if I'm in charge, I'm like, no, we've been there now for over a decade. And no, we haven't won shit, except for the Heisman. However, we've been there. Like, we're not the new kids on the block. We're not going to run away when they come back because then that big brother thing really happens. Now, if they're going to offer us way more money, I might listen to it.
Yeah, no, yeah, I would assume so. Well, guess what? That's all that really matters these days because now you're hearing Florida State and Clemson. Well, who are they talking to? And then Texas, who are they talking? Texas A&M, who are they talking to? Notre Dame, who are they talking to? Now that we've got Cal and Stanford in the ACC, like where you are doesn't matter anymore. So fuck it, just get everybody if you can. I don't know, but anyway, today is kind of a table, not a table setting episode. It's the last before the table setting. This is going to be an appetizer. Okay. I got to thinking we're not going to have much more time in the summer just to dick around and talk about topics that can only be done in the summer. So why not just do the GOAT episode right now, right here? And I'm not talking about trying to decide who the best player in college football ever was. I'm saying go through every little category you can and go through every corner of your mind and go through every history that you have with the game and answer these questions. I came up with, I guess, 11 or 12, maybe 13 categories of player. Like, for example, a best running quarterback, the linebackeriest linebacker you ever saw, the most full of shit coach you ever saw. And hell, Kayce, as we get going, we might add some categories in the mix. We might just say, that reminds me of this guy. Well, this guy needs to win that. But I got a bunch of categories. You got some. Big Ev's got some, right?
Yes, and I have to tell you, on the back of my little sheets here, I have a couple that I wanted to just throw out at the end that I didn't want to. They're not like one of those where you actually have to sit and think. It's like the first thing that comes to your mind. So I've got a few that you guys do not know of yet.
Okay, good, fine. It's going to be a freewheeling discussion. Liam Blutman is doing social for the Yak. The Yak ran over today. I'm in Starkville, Mississippi, on I guess vacation. We took vacation last week, like with the whole company, and then my wife wanted to go see her mom in Tupelo, and so we did, and now we're in Starkville. So we'll get home when we get home. Anyway, before we launch into it, any news that sticks out to y'all? I mean, Archie Manning is in the game.
Was his whole thing about not being in the game just because he hadn't played yet? Is that really why?
I don't know if it was a publicity stunt because he put out a video today. I did not watch it. Did any of you watch it?
No, I just saw that he's in the game. I didn't watch the video.
I saw his picture on the video, and I skipped the video, but I said, God, that's a Manning. That is a Manning. That's a Manning-looking dude right there.
It was he did it with Eli.
Did he? Do you watch it?
I think they played. I watched they played on the premise of what everyone bitched him about from the beginning of him saying I'm distraction or whatever.
Yeah.
They kind of played into that with Eli, as kind of like Eli was playing it, and then Arch was sitting there with like shoulder pads on and no jersey, pretending like he had the controller in his hand.
You think that was the plan the whole time, or did he get the backlash of not being in the game and then decided, called him back and said, I'll be in the game?
I think it brought more attention to it that he wasn't in the game in the first place. So maybe it was a publicity stunt.
We're a week away, folks. We're a week away from having that game in our hands.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's here.
Blutman.
Yes.
Liam Blutman is here.
Look at that hair.
Oh, it's a beautiful man.
He's gonna blow out.
It's
luscious.
What's up, Liam?
What's up, Brandon? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Also, Blutman, we are recording now, so we're not going to do any small talk.
Yeah, no, we're recording.
Okay.
Can't wait for college football 25.
And next week.
I'm very excited to play with QB2 of Texas.
Well, he's in the game now.
He's in the game.
Liam, they were just discussing this, and again, as like the very, very far down the rankings rookie of people that want to talk about that video game because I don't know shit. Don't you think that maybe like the Manning, like not just him and his dad, but like the whole like marketing arm of the Mannings were probably like, hey, let's just sit this one out, and then all of a sudden it's like, here's the money.
I don't know. Like the Mannings don't get enough shit for their savvy and they'll play some games is all I'll say. I mean, the reason that Big Ev was alive for 2 giant Super Bowls was because of the games that Archie played when Eli was getting drafted. So
great game.
So I'm just saying, the Mannings are they're nice and sweet and innocent. Oh my goodness, they're funny and charming. They'll play some games.
So now that I know that, because I didn't watch the video either, Ev just explained the video that Eli Manning is in it. It's probably the easiest thing in the world to decode here. The $600 that Arch Manning is going to get for being in the game was nothing but, hey, guess what? We'll pay Eli Manning a shitload of money to be in this video game commercial, and then boom, there's your money, Arch. Oh, like here's Eli. Here's like $1 million to promote this game, dude. That's the
answer. Don't ever sleep on the Mannings. Never. Also, since we're talking about the Mannings, RIP Archie. Did y'all see when he died last week?
What?
Brandon, that was one of the craziest things. What was the Indiana Star that wrote that?
No. It was the Jackson, Mississippi Clarion Ledger. It was
one of the craziest headlines. Just
Kayce, you didn't see it?
No.
Why are you stating his?
It wasn't his birthday.
No, it was 6 weeks after his birthday. The tweet was, Kayce, it was like Archie Manning, father of Eli and Peyton and Ole Miss great, enjoying life at 75 or something like that. But it was a complete and total obituary headline. It was absolutely the definition of an obituary tweet. And it just said, "Oh, he's alive and happy right now." It says
Archie Manning, Ole Miss football legend, dad of Eli Peyton, and grandfather of Arch, is 75.
Yes.
What?
We immediately, everybody who saw it thought, "Oh God, Archie Manning's dead." Nope, he's fine.
Well, when you said that, I was like, did I miss news that he actually died within like the last 2 hours, or like when you started saying it, I was like, I just missed this completely.
No, he's alive and well, and
75.
The Jackson, Mississippi Clarion Ledger, just a shit stain of a newspaper, wanted us to know it. So
I'll tell you what else. You want to talk marketing ploys, though? I bet that article got more clicks than any article the Mississippi Star has ever, the Jackson, whatever you just said, has ever written ever. Most clicks in the history of this website, paper, whatever you want to call it.
Well, they fucked up a lot, Big Al, but yeah, this might have done it. This might have been their most national fuck up. They fucked up a lot inside the state, and we've laughed at them, but this might have been their most national fuck up. All right. So, Liam, I already laid out the fact that this list we had. You have any categories that you're going to add to the list as we go along?
I didn't prepare any. I was very happy and content with what you guys sent. So I got all my answers.
Liam.
I don't know if y'all know, but Liam has a big ego now that he's been on North Dakota TV.
Dancing.
That's not true. No ego, never ego.
What was your quote? I like North Dakota. It was neat and cool.
It was the most me quote ever. Yeah, it was something like that. Someone tweeted it to me.
And I thought when I saw it on a tweet, and I thought he said that, and a newspaper writer wrote it like that. And then turns out, no, it was on a news interview. Blutman's just looking at the camera. I like North Dakota. It was neat and cool.
It was, we had a blast. The drive was incredible. I thought everything was very neat and cool.
Nobody talks like that, Liam.
I talk like that.
Put it on a t-shirt. This is neat and cool.
No. They need to throw that on the state sign, which is like, welcome to North Dakota.
Neat and cool.
Neat and cool.
It was. It was an accurate description, please.
All right, Kayce, tell us, before we get to our list, go ahead and tell us about our first wonderful people.
Well, I was going to say, you know what's neat and cool, Brandon? Saving money. Neat and cool is being rich and saving money. And you can't be rich unless you're not throwing money away for no reason. And a company that can help you not throw away money is our friends at Rocket Money. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/rough. We've been talking about them for a while, and I have said this, and I'll say it again, that I was using Rocket Money long before they had anything to do with Barstool Sports, anything to do with unnecessary roughness, because I am not good at canceling those subscriptions. And I still keep doing it. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago and if you're watching it on YouTube, you can see I'm wearing my Indiana Fever t-shirt, and I also have the WNBA League Pass, which I will be canceling as soon as the season is over, but Rocket Money will remind me, and they'll do it for me, Brandon, because that's what they do. They don't just remind you, they'll cancel it for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. They should probably have canceled that WNBA League Pass as soon as you bought it, and they should have called you and been like, are you sure? Was this a mistake?
Listen, I was sitting there and I was like, I've gone in person now to a couple of them. Like, I have to watch Caitlin Clark play. Well, Amazon Prime can get me onto the WNBA League Pass. Bam. And then Rocket Money actually sent me an alert and said, you now have a subscription that is active. So Rocket Money will keep me in check. They also help you budget. They show you exactly what you're spending. And it's also a really cool way to just kind of put all your finances into one place without having to stress out about it. And the app is free. So go to rocketmoney.com/rough. Most importantly, it cancels those unwanted subscriptions that are just literally at the tip of a finger. We love Rocket Money. Neat and cool.
Rocket Money is neat and cool. They get the neat and cool seal of approval from Liam Blutman. All right. So this is really just going to be a almost a nostalgia episode, or at least that's what I envision in my mind. And Liam, I got high hopes for you here, buddy.
High hopes.
Because I want you to come up with players. If I don't go who at least 3 times, you have disappointed me.
Okay, you might say who a few times. I could guarantee 3. I could guarantee 3.
You're guaranteeing me 3.
Guaranteed right now. Legacy game. I've guaranteed 3 who's.
3 who's. Okay, put it down. Big Av, I want you to keep the scoreboard. 3 who's at least. He's guaranteeing 3.
So are we gonna? So we're setting the over under at 3.
Is it me or is it everybody?
Oh,
just you.
Yeah,
no, just me. Okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay, so the Brandon over under of Liam who's 3.
Oh, this is in the bag.
Okay, all right.
Do you want to go 3.5? Like, do we want to?
He guaranteed 3, so we're
That's what I'm saying.
No gambling odds. We're just gonna stick with his guarantee.
All right.
He's got to meet that. All right. So the first category, we'll just start with the quarterbacks, and we might even add some categories as we go. But in your lifetime watching college football, and it doesn't have to be the best quarterback, it doesn't have to be a famous quarterback, it doesn't have to be anything. What's the best arm you've ever seen? Who has the best, strongest arm? The arm that made you go, whoa. That's the first question. The best arm you have ever seen. What I am looking at right now is clockwise. Big Ev top left, Kayce top right. I'm bottom right. So that's the order we're going to go in. Big Ev, you go top left.
So I want to get this as the first topic. Do we say one and then maybe because for each one I've written down a few just to have for discussion?
No. What I want you to do is tell me yours.
Okay.
Kayce will tell me hers. We'll go in that order, and after we all have one, then we can add others.
Yeah.
We can say, oh, I also thought about this.
Okay, so I'll start off. I think he's probably most famous for just having the biggest arm. And he was in my lifetime. We talk about I only did guys that I got to see with my own eyes. I'm 29. Jamarcus Russell. I mean, the guy just had an absolute Ken for an arm. I mean, we can talk about forever about how it didn't work in the NFL, blah, blah, blah. But you want someone that can just rear back and toss that thing? It's Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, it's a shame. We are a college football podcast. It's a shame sometimes when these guys bust in the NFL, how that becomes the story with them, and not how fucking good they were or how strong their arm was in college. Because he was something. He was something. Kayce.
So I also did the same thing that Ev did, where I have multiple, and under this highlighted thing right here, you can see it says Jamarcus Russell, because like he could throw the ball from like New York to LA, but the issue then became like he didn't have it between the ears, and then like I don't know if you've seen recently, like he's like gotten fired from multiple coaching jobs that he's been trying to do, so it was just like kind of an all-time bust. But that guy's arm was crazy. I'll save the other ones that I have written down, which I'm sure you've seen. But like I know I was a little bit younger when he was playing, but when you go back and you look at the highlights of him, like he could throw it through a fucking brick wall. Like I feel like that's like the easiest answer for me.
So mine is a guy that played after that. He was not I don't think he was a first round pick. I know he kicked around the league for a little while, and he is RIP. But started his career at Michigan, ended up at Arkansas, where he took Arkansas to the Sugar Bowl, where they lost to Ohio State. It's Ryan Mallett. Ryan Mallett was tall. He looked like a quarterback, and he threw the ball harder than anybody I can remember. And I know Jamarcus Russell is a great answer, but there's going to be a lot of great answers for a lot of these questions. So mine is Ryan Mallett. Ryan Mallett was just – it was just different when he threw the ball. He threw it across the middle. He would throw a fastball. He could throw it forever. And I just remember him – when I think strong arm, I don't know why Ryan Mallett's the name that comes to my head, but Ryan Mallett is, in fact, the name that comes to my head. Liam Butman, who's the best arm you've ever seen?
Well, it can't be Jamarcus Russell for me because I was 6 to 8 years old when he was playing at LSU, and I'm just not going to lie and say I was locked in. Ryan Mallett came to mind for me as well, as did Marco Wilson when he threw a shoe in the Florida game and said, when asked if he'd do it again, Florida LSU 2020, said, 100% I'd do it again. I'd probably throw it further. That to me screams like a guy who's got cancer.
What a good answer.
I was between Ryan Mallett and like he wasn't good and he's not good, but Joe Milton's arm is kind of one of a kind.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Joe Milton.
Joe Milton's got that arm that almost convinces you he's a good quarterback, and then you see him play quarterback.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to use it. It's a shame. Yeah. It's a waste of an arm.
You watch him play the game, you're like, ugh, this isn't quarterback. And then in May, in shorts, in front of a bunch of campers, he'll throw a ball half a mile, and you're like, we got something here. And then practice starts, and you realize he sucks.
The video of even just him throwing the football with Spider in the New York office, where like, and I mean, Spider's like obviously like a smaller guy, but like he barely threw that ball. And like you could see, like if it was a cartoon, that ball would have gone through Spider's entire body. Like just the way he just put zip on it, just like dicking around in an office. He's also one of those guys that's like so relevant right now because we've been talking about it. That's like Joe Milton could throw it into the stands. Like I feel like he's always going to be that guy. Like he wasn't accurate, but he could get it there if he needed to.
Liam, these could make good like 4-box graphics of best arm and you know Big Ev and Kayce would both have Russell. I'd have Mallett, and you'd of course have Joe Milton. Big Ev, you had more to add to the list?
Joe Milton was my other name.
Yeah,
I wanted to go Russell because then I'm excited to go nostalgia with it. But I mean, Milton is just. I mean, I was going to say what Kayce said. He almost killed Spider. Almost murdered him with a button hook.
And didn't even have to try. It wasn't even like he was like actually trying to put zip on the ball. Like he literally was just like tossing it around like they're at like a backyard barbecue. And poor Spider almost got his life ended.
An 8-yard hitch almost decapitated him.
Yeah.
Let's be honest though. We all love Spider. Him dying at the hands of Joe Milton throwing a pass would be funny.
It would be an all-time Barstool death. Like
Spider's going to die at Barstool, whether it's a NASCAR guy that runs over him. So he's going to die at Barstool. So why not Joe Milton? Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I would honestly say I feel like if you're going to rank like how to go, which as we know, everybody that's been on the PJ to games with me, you've heard me say that like going down in a PJ wouldn't be so bad because you wouldn't remember it. I feel like getting killed by a football hitting you cannot, like that would not be a quick death. A NASCAR car would be.
Yeah, I guess it would. Liam, you've never experienced that, and Big Ev, you never sit with us as much. But the second Kayce gets on a private jet, I mean, the second the wheels go up, she'll be like, If we died today, it wouldn't be that bad. Every time.
Well, first of all, it started off as kind of like I was meaning it, and I do mean it to a certain degree, but there's also people that are normally on that plane that are like scared of it, and I just like, I get it. Like, I'm not trying to like make fun of it, but there are certain people that I do like to make fun of. But my thought is like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I want to die today. It's more of just like, well, if this plane goes down, like, what are you going to do? Like,
yeah. Kayce and Dan are both the same way. Dan's the same way. Dan will get up there, the plane hits some bumps, and he'll just laugh. What if we died?
Yeah.
Like, no, shut up.
I mean, it's like I got on a helicopter like probably like a month or so after Kobe passed away. And people were like, how dare you? Like, you know what just happened to Kobe? I'm like, well, you get in a car every day. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe it's a morbid thing to do, but like, I love being on private planes. And if I died on one, I died on one. What can you do? If I die, I die.
All right, I'm immediately going to split a category. The next category is best running quarterback, okay? But I'm going to split it.
Okay.
And we're going to do best running quarterback, and then we're going to do best scrambling quarterback, okay?
Okay.
Because
like
running and scrambling are the same thing. They're also not the same thing. Like there's great scramblers and there's great runners. But best running quarterback, let's go with the best running quarterback. And I wonder if this has changed Big Ev. I can already see Big Ev's hamster is spinning in his head right now. Big Ev, best running quarterback.
Well, this is also the one too where I think there's a lot of options. I think this was one of the easier ones to come up with a list, like just off the top of your head. So running, there's a few.
I have
you know what? I'm gonna go with the Homer one because I think there's other good ones. I'm gonna say Braxton Miller.
Yeah,
because when that guy had the ball in his hands, it was just electricity flowing through the state. I mean, some of the runs he has, his highlight tape. Even obviously he has the incredible one at Virginia Tech when he transitioned to receiver, but him as a quarterback just running with that ball willy-nilly. I mean, he was unbelievable.
I mean, the spin move remains, and I don't think he was playing quarterback when he did the spin move.
Wasn't.
But the spin move remains. I think it was opening night against Virginia Tech, and the whole country was watching, and he just does the most incredible spin move we've ever captured on film. And you say Braxton Miller, bang, that highlight goes in my head. That's why I love college football. You say a name, a highlight reel plays in my head, and I enjoy my life for just a little bit.
And there's some of him just wearing that number 5, like it just he just fit. Like he was kind of the era before the era. Like he was a receiver. He gets hurt and they win the national title that year. But I think people kind of forget how good he was those 2-3 years before that. He was just incredible.
Best running quarterback, Kayce Smith.
So I told you guys this before we started recording that I feel like, as college football fans, you have a lot of homer takes. You also have a lot of trauma takes. You have a lot of things that you remember just haunting you as a college football fan. And a lot of these kind of lean that way for me, which is sad. But I have to say Vince Young. I feel like Vince Young is one of those guys where like he just, as soon as he scrambled outside of the pocket, you were like, holy shit, this guy's going to make it work with his legs. I believe he was the first quarterback to ever pass the 300,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards mark. I think there's only like 3 or 4 guys that have done it. I think he was the first one, but he was just one of those guys that I can see, you talk about like visuals, like him in the Rose Bowl, getting into the end zone and just the confetti falling. It's a nightmare for me as an Aggie, but also like just college football in general. Like I think that's one of the most iconic plays we've seen. And he was just able to do that his entire career at Texas.
And here's the reason I split the category, because the running quarterback I'm going to give you, I had 2 names for this list, and I can split it down the middle. My running quarterback, and listen, Vince Young's a great pick. Braxton Miller's a great pick. But Pat White at West Virginia might be the coolest motherfucker. We running quarterbacks, scrambling quarterbacks, all that, dual threats have gone through several evolutions or over the years. Michael Vick started it and everything, and other guys started it before him, but he really popularized it. But Pat White and West Virginia, Rich Rodriguez just threw the best athletes on the field and said, you know what? Fuck throwing the ball. Stop them. And just you had the fastest running back you've ever seen, the second fastest running back you've ever seen, and then just an antelope at quarterback who would pull the ball and then run for 70 yards on about 5 strides. Pat White, to me, changed everything. I think he's the greatest running quarterback I've ever seen. William Blutman.
He was born 10-15 years too soon.
Yeah. But he did have a moment. He had his moment. Like he owned college football for like a couple of weeks there in 2007.
But I'm saying he's a first-round pick probably.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right.
10-15 years later when he was, I think, like a 6th rounder or something like that.
Yeah.
Played for the Dolphins for a little bit.
he was barely too early.
Yeah. Who's yours?
So there was a point in our lives where this guy was the greatest thing in our sport for a few weeks. 2017 Khalil Tate at Arizona quite literally took the sport by storm in an almost unprecedented way, where he was running for 200, 300 yards on like 10, 13, 15 carries or whatever it be. Nobody could tackle him. Nobody could stop him. Everybody knew that when Khalil Tate took that snap, he was either throwing the ball deep or he was taking off and running up the middle, and you could not stop this guy. He was unbelievable for that stretch. And before, got ruined the next year. But 2017 Khalil was crazy.
Didn't he have a 300-yard rushing game?
Yeah, he rushed for 327 on 14 carries and 4 touchdowns against Colorado in his breakout game. That was his breakout game. I'm looking at the stats. I'm not acting like
I was going to say, I was going to give you so much credit there.
No. I was a big, like, OG Khalil Tate guy. Like, this guy needs to be playing more and everything. So seeing him, like, I was one of the few people there, like, waiting for this guy to play, and seeing that against Colorado made me very happy back in the day.
Brandon, when he said those stats, did you not absolutely believe he knew that off the top of his head?
That's 100% what I thought.
I 100% was like, if anybody else would have done that, I would have been like, okay, they have the stats in front of them. I was like, Liam is just special. He just knows.
Yeah. Sorry.
He's cool and neat. I'm sorry. He's neat and cool. Now, Big Ev, I made a custom category here, scrambling quarterback. Again, that's different than running quarterback. Scrambling means you can scramble out. Maybe you run it. Maybe you extend the play. Maybe you throw it after that. But it just means making plays behind the line of scrimmage. I think that's what scrambling means to me. Go ahead, Big Ev.
Yeah, I agree. So obviously this is totally off the top, like you said. But I think it's the only answer that's came to mind just immediately. It's Johnny Football for me.
Yeah, I mean,
when it comes to just pure, obviously he was a great runner as well. He had big rushing games. When it comes to just making a play, just going back, forth, run around, finding a guy, it was Johnny Manziel. Pretty easy answer for me.
Yeah, I got another answer, and I assume that the Kayce's answer is Johnny too, right?
Well, so I got really excited when you decided to split the category because, as I mentioned, that it was like a trauma answer, and I was like, oh my God, I get my trauma answer and my homer answer because I do think Johnny's a great answer. But I do feel like it's like the safest one, especially for like our age range of like Lamar Jackson was pretty damn good at doing that too. Like Lamar Jackson being like a video game character, like you just never knew what he was going to do. I still think I would put Johnny ahead of that, but for sake of not repeating it and maybe not being a homer, I'll say Lamar Jackson. Like I just like watching him just like literally go on like fast motion mode as he's like rolling out on his back foot is just unbelievable entertainment.
So I think Johnny's probably the right answer, but the guy I'm going to give you could be the right answer as well because Big Ev, you're 28.
29. I'll be 30.
29. Kayce, you're a little older than that. Liam, you're 25.
Yeah.
Okay. So 29, that means 20. Yeah. I can't express to you what Michael Vick looked like on a TV screen in 1999, 2000. When Michael Vick would drop back to pass, and they weren't really doing read options as much, and they weren't doing as many called quarterback runs. Most of his runs were he drops back, he rolls to the left or the right, and then he takes off. I never seen anything like it. There had been mobile quarterbacks, but they would be like 6'3", 6'4", and they would be like Vince Young, and they would take long strides. Michael Vick had one of the best arms in the country. But as soon as he did this, he was the best running back on the field. He was a running back and a quarterback in the same body. The national title game that he lost to Florida State, I thought, why is Virginia Tech here? And then for like 2.5 quarters, he put on the biggest show I've ever seen in my life. Michael Vick is my answer for scrambling quarterback, even though Johnny is also
like. You know that you're usually like the best at it when everybody compares the guys after that to you. Because like I remember when Johnny was going through like his Heisman run in 2012, it was like when Michael Vick signed off on him for like being like Michael Vick, it became like a thing. It was like, well, if Michael Vick's saying you're like Michael Vick, the issue for me, and I know that this has nothing to do with football, Michael Vick just irritates the shit out of me so much that I forget how good he was because he became such a bad person. That's my PSA.
Yeah, he did his time in prison, and he is a changed man, and good for him. And also, fuck them dogs.
Fuck you.
They're dogs. Okay, Blutman. Who's
Yeah,
your answer? Scrambling quarterback.
My dad's gonna hate that I'm bringing this up, but I told him to go bet Lamar Jackson to win the Heisman before the 2016 season. He did not. Lamar Jackson won the 2016 Heisman, and his odds were astronomical before the season. Lamar Jackson scrambling, whether it was 2015 for his last few games there, the 2016 breakout, and an arguable should have been the 2017 Heisman winning 17 season. Like, that guy is an absolute freak, and he has kind of helped change the game and mold it to more like Lamar Jackson's the reason why Pat White would have been unbelievable in this era, right? Because Lamar Jackson has kind of helped transcend things to what we're seeing in the modern game. You could never tackle him. There was that touchdown I had against Syracuse. I remember that one a lot.
The Florida State one too.
The Florida State one. I mean, the Florida State game was a beatdown.
Yeah.
He was an absolute menace.
The one I think about with him is actually from his high school tape, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the one where he just is running at full speed and just stops and lets the guy walk by.
He's just like, and I know I've said this on this podcast before, but obviously before these two were here, like I was on the sidelines for that Kentucky Louisville game that you're talking about, Liam, at the end of his freshman year. And I was just, and I interviewed him, and like I look back at that clip now, like we're both babies, but I look back and think like nobody, obviously except for Liam, really knew how good he was going to be. We knew at those couple games, but like to see what he's not just turned into in college, but turned into in the NFL, like he truly is the definition of watching somebody play a video game.
Yeah, I have my tweet from the Charlotte game in that season opener. Lamar Jackson for Heisman. Don't sleep. They went out, and he won the Heisman, and that was probably. I mean, he only rushed for 119 yards that day. Wasn't even close to getting to the tip of the iceberg.
But the Homer take though is like that when you talk about iconic plays in football, the way that Johnny made that touchdown against Alabama with like the Vern Lundquist call, and he like almost fumbles it and throws it with his left hand across his body. Like that is one of the all-time great plays in college football.
But real quick before we move on, there's one name that we just haven't said that I feel would be a disservice to the show just to not say his name with these people.
Please.
Cam Newton just has to be. I just felt disrespectful to not say his name.
Well, I mean, if we're being honest, Cam Newton should have been said or needed to be. And also, if we're talking running quarterbacks, like Tim Tebow's name needs to be brought up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like Tim Tebow made a career out of. He became a first-round pick just because of how well he ran the ball.
And Quentin Flowers deserves an honorable mention for sure.
South Florida?
Yep. He deserves an honorable mention.
Oh, Brandon, was that the first one?
All I'm saying is Big F saved a who right there.
Yeah. I saw your face. As soon as I saw Brandon's face.
A little bit.
He was.
I know.
Him and Marlon Mack there on those South Florida teams. The war on I-4 was crazy.
I'm just saying, if you only get to two who's, Big F might have screwed you there.
No, it's fine because I know I'm getting 3 or 4 or 5. I know. I wasn't counting Quentin Flowers. He was one of my favorite players growing up, though. He was honestly like discount Lamar Jackson. Like this was your lower level school Lamar.
All right, let's go with let's move to the running back position. I got two for running backs. Now we could add if we want to, but
Brandon, before we move to running backs,
yes, please.
Got to talk about something that's also sleek, also beautiful.
Me.
And that's your hair. That's your hair, buddy. And you were on vacation last week in where? Gulf Shores, Alabama?
I was, yeah.
And I believe I don't know at what time you posted a photo of your hair, but I tweeted at you and I texted you and I said, I cannot believe, or I know I at least tweeted, I cannot believe that you had a buzz cut before you moved to New York. You have such luscious, beautiful hair. Obviously, Liam does too as well. And we can thank our friends at Nutrafol because Nutrafol is the best hair supplement in the game right now. It's the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand with over 1 million people seeing better, not only longer, Brandon, thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding. I know I've said it before. I had a lot of shedding postpartum. A lot of people, as you get older in the summer, you wear hats too, and you shed, not with Nutrafol, but like warm weather right now just brings a lot of activities that's not great for your hair. Nutrafol is the answer for that, but not just because of that, Brandon. It's also good for your whole body, for your everything in your body. Nutrafol covers. Also, you have a great beard going right now, and I know I'm not supposed to tell you that because you're married, but you do. Hair, beard. I know. Thank you for showing me your wedding ring. I was speaking to your wife earlier. So take a step towards achieving your hair growth goals for a limited time. Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code UR. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists, which Brandon, I know you're a big stylist guy these days. Do you have a stylist in Chicago?
I do.
Okay, I know you had one, a great one in New York. I didn't know if you found it.
His name is Funk. I never thought I'd go back to a man for my hairstyling needs, but I love him like a brother.
Well, shout out Funk because he's keeping the game straight. Because what you were getting, and I do feel like we can't talk about how you had a buzz cut enough. But stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Again, it's not just longer; it's healthier. Nutrafol.com/men. That's Nutrafol.com/men. And use a promo code UR. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code UR.
All right, so let's go to the running back position. Got a couple categories here. Again, if we add, we add. But the first one is shiftiest running back. I wrote shiftiest. I don't really know the best way to describe this. You know, the jukiest, the shiftiest, the guy with the best moves. Huh? Most elusive running back. Sure. Most elusive running back. And we'll start with Big Ev.
This is easy. For me, this is easy. I wrote down a few names. It's probably my favorite play in college football history. Probably the guy who made me truly fall in love with college football, and that's one Reggie Bush, the man that got us Heisman back this year. I mean, just a walking highlight reel, just jukes, moves. I mean, just speed, agility, the full package. Just one of the most, probably, I would argue maybe the most exciting player that we've seen in the last 20, 30 years in college football. One Reginald Bush.
If you needed a touchdown against Fresno State, he was your guy.
I'm about to say Brandon's not a Reggie Bush guy.
I'm not. I mean, I think he was great. I don't think he deserves the Michael Jordan status that we bestow upon him. But it is what it is. Like, he's a solid Heisman winner. Kayce,
he just fell at that time for me. I was 9 years old, 10 years old. He just was like, I want to be that guy.
I imagine everybody on the playground wanted to be Reggie Bush in 2005.
So Reggie Bush is on my list, but if you want to talk about guys that I remember kind of like really bringing the love of the game, that is not obviously, you know, as an Aggie, like I remember all the Aggie running backs, but LaDainian Tomlinson was somebody like growing up in the backyard of Fort Worth, Texas, like watching him. And I was so young, but I remember watching him. And now when you look back, like, he was an absolute beast for TCU. And I just like, I remember like feeling guilty that I liked a player that wasn't playing in maroon and white because I was still that young. But that's like the first running back that I remember really paying attention to and being like, holy shit, that guy, no one can tackle him. So I'm going to say LaDainian Tomlinson. I
promise you we're going to get into some categories that are not as basic bitch answers as the ones I've been giving so far. But I'm going to do another one right now. I was 9 years old in 1988. I don't know if you guys know who won the 1988 Heisman Trophy off the top of your head, but his name was Barry Sanders.
Yes.
And he played at Oklahoma State. Now, he had not played previously really at all because he was behind Thurman Thomas. I think he scored 39 touchdowns. He had something like 3 miles worth of yards. It seemed like and this was very early in my watching, but I was watching every Saturday. I'd be watching the SEC games, Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. And they'd break in with CBS or whatever, and they'd show another Barry Sanders highlight on that bright-ass green turf that Oklahoma State used to have. And it was just, he did things that you didn't think possible. And, of course, he'd go to the NFL and do it later, and everybody knows him as a – but if you – I'm going to say this a lot today. If you have some time today, go to YouTube and do Barry Sanders college highlights and just watch, because it doesn't look like the same football that a lot of people play. So Barry Sanders is my answer. I do have a couple I want to come back with in a minute. But Liam, who's yours?
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead, Kayce.
Oh, no, I was going to say Barry Sanders, I feel like, is like if you were to ask college football fans in general, like who the best running back of all time is. Barry Sanders is going to be most people's answers. And like the fact that I know this like exercise was supposed to be that like we saw play or remember play, like he's one of those guys that I wish that I was alive to watch play in real time, because when you do watch those highlights and you talk about how good he was, like I can't imagine seeing an athlete like that and just being like, we're watching the greatest of all time right now. It's like watching Tom Brady to me. It's like Barry Sanders is that
the shame
guy.
of it is we only got 1 year.
I know, and it was like, and it was obviously in the 80s, but like he is the greatest of all time, I think, for college running backs, or at least you'd have to say top 3.
I wouldn't put him as the GOAT because he only did it for 1 year, but his one season might be the greatest season of all time. I'm gonna look it up.
Didn't he run for like 2,700 yards? That's just an outrageous number. Outrageous.
He ran
like for 28 or something like that.
He ran for 2,628 yards. Hold on, Big F. Big F. He played 11 games. They didn't play 15 games back then. He played 11 games. He got 2,628 yards. He averaged 7.6 yards a carry on 344 carries. Guys averaging almost a first down a carry. He had 37 touchdowns on the ground. He had 19 catches for 106 yards. Let's see. I know for a fact he had 3 kick return touchdowns.
That's right. Like he is the greatest. Like I know he only did it for 1 year, but like Barry Sanders has to be the answer anytime these conversations come up. And it sucks that we weren't old enough to see him play.
I wrote him down, but I just felt disingenuous saying it because I obviously didn't get to see it.
Well, again, Herschel Walker is up there too with like names you throw out there. Like we obviously weren't alive when that happened.
I would say Herschel is my answer for GOAT because he did it for 3 years. But I mean, if you said Barry Sanders, I wouldn't fight you. Liam.
So at first I took this topic very, very, very literally. And I could only think of one person. And I'm not even he won't be the person I'm choosing, but he'll be the guy I say first. All I could think of when you asked this was Ito Smith. And his entire life, all he did was just jump cut, jump cut, jump cut. I swear if I was on campus there at Southern Miss and I saw him walking around, I could just see that guy probably jump cutting like in the, what do they call him?
The quad?
Yeah, the quad. Yeah, that's what it's called. Not a school guy. I can see him like jump cutting around the quad. That's all he did. So I took it very literally. I'm going to say Christian McCaffrey.
Kayce looked at me. No, the fact that Ito Smith played at Southern Miss, I knew who it was. So had he not been Southern Miss, we would have been in who territory.
If we were in the same room, I would have been like glaring holes through you because I was like waiting. I was like, there's no, especially because the way Liam set it up of like, I took it quite literally to the definition. And the three of us were like, what does that mean?
I had no idea. I thought it was going to be a guy that like drove a stick shift car. I didn't know what
or his last name was like Shift or something. Like that's the way I took it.
No, just 5'9", Ito Smith.
My other running back category is hard-nosed running back. My best broken tackles running back, the guy that you just dreaded tackling. My most hard-nosed running back. Big Av, who you got?
I'm going to pick a guy. I guess technically is a fullback, but he did get some carries. His
fullbacks are fine here, by the way. Mine's a fullback.
So yeah, I went fullback, and I went who was the lead blocker for Pat White and Steve Slaton, Mr. Owen Schmidt.
Yes, please.
Just a breaker of face masks, breaker of helmets. Just you need a tough yard or two, punch in the end zone. That's your guy. Just the classic fullback face mask. Like I said, he was breaking them left and right because he literally just ran so hard. He was just literally smashing his face over the defense. Owen Schmidt just looks like a fullback. Everything that's great about fullbacks. Yeah. Owen Schmidt should be like the poster child of what that is. I can just picture him with like a bloody nose, like ridge of his nose, tape on it.
I'm not gonna lie. That answer gave me goosebumps. I was like, when you said it, I was like, I immediately thought, and it was perfect. That was a perfect answer.
That's a football guy answer right there.
Who you got, Kayce?
Well, so this is one that I want to be able to say both because it is like when I know I've said it multiple and now it's like repeating myself, but I have a trauma and a homer pick when I think about in my lifetime. Like obviously you can throw out like Earl Campbell because he was like the first guy ever for like they had to like do his own custom thigh pads because he was so big. I didn't see him play, but to me the two that came to mind immediately were Ricky Williams and then Jamar Toombs for Texas A&M. And Brandon, I don't know if you know. Oh, did I just take yours?
No.
You didn't take him, but he was going to be one of my added lists because I was Kayce. I sat there last night. What was his name at Texas A&M? What was his name? What was his name? And I sat there for 20 minutes before I finally found him.
He whenever like the whole stadium like they would say Tombs, like it almost sounded like boo. They'd be like Tombs, and I'll never forget. I have like goosebumps because like I was with my dad. I was very young. I was at Kyle Field. We were playing Oklahoma, and literally he carried 4 guys on his body across the goal line. He was just an absolute wrecking ball of a guy. And obviously, if you don't follow A&M or you weren't old enough, like have you ever even heard that name, Ev?
No, I've not.
No, exactly. Like that's like, but he is like, if you go back and look at his highlights, like it was impossible to bring him down. But then also like Ricky Williams was also kind of the guy. And I know he had some speed too, but Ricky Williams could just absolutely run through a brick wall with guys hanging on him. And I mean, there's a reason he became the legend that he did at Texas. So those were my 2 answers. And I had to have both because I had to feel good about myself and remind myself of my trauma.
All right. So Jamar Toombs was one that I went back in the memory bank and I was like, again, I couldn't remember who it was, but I just remember seeing him. So I Googled late 90s Texas A&M running backs, and I finally found it, and I was so excited when I found it. But he wasn't my answer anyway. My answer is, and here's my second YouTube assignment for everybody out there, because I know you're going to know this name, and you're going to know this name from his time in the pros. But Mike Allstott at Purdue. Mike Allstott at Purdue might have the most hilarious college highlight tape of all time. Mike Allstott couldn't get tackled by Chevrolets. Like there was, you could put lawnmowers out on defense and they weren't tackling Mike Allstott. Like Mike Allstott would run into a hole or run into the line, disappear for a second, and then just like a cartoon, like explode out the other side. Like he was, and he did it in the pros, and he had some famous pro runs, but his college highlight tape, and I think he played like 91, 92, 93, somewhere in there. I might be off, 94, somewhere in there. But it was just every week you'd get new. I remember the George Michael Sports Machine is what I watched on Sunday nights, and they would have a Mike Allstott highlight of the week, it seemed like every week. But Mike Allstott at Purdue is my answer for most hard-nosed running back. Liam Blutman.
So I'm at a crossroads here, and I might need some help from you guys to choose between the two of these guys. Ryan Nall, a.k.a. Wrecking Nall, or Clint Ratkovich, who played Superback.
Who?
Okay, we got one.
Who?
That's two. That's two.
No. That was the second who for Clint Ratkovich.
You know Ryan Nall?
I know the name Ryan Nall, yes, but I don't.
Where he play?
How did he do that?
I don't know. What was that?
These new Macs are crazy, man.
Okay.
What, you ready?
Okay.
Wait, they don't do it when you want them to do it. They only do it when you don't want them to
I
do
literally
it.
just went like this.
Wow. What did that? Okay. All right. What?
I got confetti.
All right. Tell me about Ryan Nall and Makovich.
Well, Clint Ratkovich played Superback at Northern Illinois. He had played at Western Illinois. Then he played 1 year at NIU just a few years ago. And he was a big white dude that they classified. He played Superback. He didn't play running back. He didn't play any other position. He played Superback, and he ran for like 4.5 yards a carry, something, but he ran for like 13, 14 touchdowns. It was just fun watch. So Ratkovich. And then Ryan Nall, poor guy, retired last year. His entire career has been last month he retired. His entire career was just riddled with injuries. I thought maybe we could see him get a chance in the NFL. The Bears kind of held his contract hostage, but Ryan Nall at Oregon State there were 2 years there. Nobody could tackle him. He came to play H-back, and then they're like, we're going to play you at tight end. And then there were some injuries in the backfield, so we're going to play you at running back. This guy was 6'2", 240. You could not tackle this guy, and he would run right through everyone. He really lived up to the name Wrecking Nall. Like one of the best nicknames too. I loved Ryan Nall.
All right, we're going to the defensive side of the ball now. I feel like we didn't do much on the running back, but whatever. We'll just move to the defensive.
We could have done a lot. Well, we could do a lot more on quarterback too. I mean,
Yeah.
Zach Wilson Pro Day for best arm.
All right. So we're going to do defense, and we're going with best pass rusher. And this could be most fearsome pass rusher or just the guy that you don't want to see lined up out there, the guy that strikes the most fear in your heart. Big F.
This is a guy I went a little, maybe not strikes the most fear in your heart physically. I'm going to guess he's going to be the smallest guy that gets mentioned amongst the four of us. But you want a guy that gets to the fucking quarterback. This is your guy, Louisville's Elvis Dumervil.
Wow, I thought you were going Chase Young there.
I did too.
Didn't go Homer. No, that's why I said small. Small. Chase Young, big guy. Elvis Dumervil. I believe he's 5'11", little 220, 230 in college. I think he had 20 sacks. His best year, 20 and a half sacks, was unbelievable. And ended up having obviously a great NFL career as well, but just unblockable coming off the edge from Louisville. Elvis Dumervil, loved watching him.
That's a great one. That's one of those names that, I mean, I know he played in the pros. I remember him at Louisville, and he was an absolute, like, beast isn't the right word because he wasn't big. You're right.
Menace is the word.
Menace is the word. Menace is exactly the word.
He's 5'11", under I think 225. You couldn't block him. No one could block him.
Kayce, go ahead.
So I feel like this is a very chalk answer, but it's like I couldn't talk myself out of it. And for me, it's Jadeveon Clowney. And I understand that like in college, everyone was like, oh my God, like, he didn't have the numbers he put up. Well, it's because he was like getting like 17 guys put on him at all times. So, like when you talk about somebody that instilled fear when they lined up across from you, like those years when he was at South Carolina, like if Clowney was there, like you were terrified. And there's a ton of different answers for this, like Terrell Suggs, and like you go down the list. But like to me, in my time of watching college football, he would absolutely be one of those guys that you were just like, shit, he is going to get to the quarterback, he's going to get to the ball, and he's going to hit you as hard as he possibly can.
Yeah, no, that's a very good one. So I'm going to go with a guy. I'm going back to the 80s because I'm the only one here who can do that, so I'm going to do it. It's the first pass rusher I remember thinking that's the best player on the field. Now, you got to remember the 1980s was the era of Mike Singletary at linebacker, Ronnie Lott at safety, Lawrence Taylor at pass rusher. Like these were just big, scary, rugged, fearsome men. Like there's a difference from the kind of guys that were roaming the defense back then and what we allow them to do today. But this is in college. This was a mixture of Mike Singletary and Lawrence Taylor. His name was Derek Thomas. He played at the University of Alabama. He had 27 sacks his senior year. I'm going to say that again. He had 27 sacks his senior year.
1 year.
I'm going to say that one more time. He had 27 sacks. He was LT in the college game. Like as LT was changing the game at the pro level, Derek Thomas was doing it at the college level. He had 52 sacks in 4 seasons, 27 as a senior. He had a great Hall of Fame pro career, but I'll never forget him in college. He was tall, he was lanky, he was fast, he was fearsome. He was just a menace, a beast, whatever you want to say. Derek Thomas is the quintessential pass rusher in the college game to me. Liam,
I haven't looked this up. No, I was going to say I haven't looked this up, but he, with that many in one season, he has to lead college football in sacks, right?
I don't know that he does.
Because I know like Von Miller had like 33 and he's high up there. I think Myles Garrett had like 30. And like these are guys that we talk about as big time pass rushers. And again, 2 homer guys, but like to have 50, he has to lead it.
I'm looking it up right now as Liam Butman talks.
All time because I was doing a little run through yesterday. I think he's definitely in the top like 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure.
Like if we've got guys and like I would assume Vaughn and Myles are top 15, top 20 at the lowest, and we've got them in the 30s of all time.
Yeah, well, there's a guy named Marcus Martin at Slippery Rock who had 56 sacks. So whatever. Liam Blutman.
Von Miller and Myles Garrett stuck out to me, but there are 2 athletes that helped kind of get me to where I am today in the whole like group of 5 mid-major scene where like I obsess over that stuff. One was Damian Lillard at Weber State playing basketball. Yes, I know college football stuff. The other was Khalil Mack at Buffalo. Now, I was watching Khalil Mack, and dude, my friends will always get mad at me because I was watching Maction and I wasn't going outside like playing wiffle ball or whatever. I was watching Maction. I was watching Khalil Mack. And then What happens with Khalil Mack's career? Extraordinary NFL career. He's a 5th overall pick for the Raiders. He that game against Ohio State, the first game of the year in 2013 against Ohio State. Well, I'm trying to like tell my friends at school, there's this guy at Buffalo, Khalil Mack. Maybe you guys should watch him. I don't know. And then he goes out there on the biggest stage he's ever played up to the NFL point. Ohio State, he had a pick 6. He had 2.5 sacks. Like, he was, dude, if he was on, that just makes me think, like, if he was on a Power 5 team or like in the SEC or something and had other talented teammates around him to where he wasn't being triple teamed almost every point of the game, what could he have accumulated stat wise?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah. No, good player. He's a good player, Liam.
Yeah. I love Khalil Mack. Thank you, Khalil Mack.
So this next category is my personal favorite that I came up with, and I didn't really know how to do it for all the other positions, but this is the way I describe linebackers is how linebacker they look. So this is the linebackeriest linebacker you ever remember, and I don't know that I can describe it, but linebackers, good ones, just look different. Like they just, I think a football linebacker is the best a man can look. Like LeVar Arrington in 1999 is the coolest a man has ever looked. That's just, and that's what I'm going with. So the linebackeriest linebacker, and my pick isn't LeVar Arrington, by the way, that you ever remember, Big Ev.
Before Big Ev, we talk about your favorite linebackeriest linebacker. We got to talk about our favorite sheets on the market right now. And by far, there is no argument, no multiple choice answer. It is Boll and Branch. And they have the best season of their sales coming up right now, which is always great. So you can take your chance to upgrade your bed and sleep betters for years to come. I love Boll and Branch so much. I've been talking about it, but their sheets really are by far the best in the game. It's all organic cotton. They know exactly where that cotton is coming from. And they have these signature hem sheets that I have not only on my bed in New York, not only on my bed in Texas, but I've been gifting them because they are absolutely amazing. Their signature sheets are, like I said, made with 100% cotton, and it's the highest quality threads. And Brandon, Ev, Liam, as you know, when you sleep on good sheets, you get a good night's sleep. And if you're out there listening to me right now and you don't have good sheets on your bed, you're not only missing out for yourself, but whoever else is going to be sleeping with you. And I promise you, Kayce Smith guarantee the Boll and Branch sheets will keep your lady happy. I'm just saying they will absolutely do that. They have a 30-night worry-free guarantee, which means you can wash them, you can style them, and you can sleep in their sheets. And if for some reason you don't love them, you can send them right back with free returns on all U.S. orders. And that is, again, not only the Boll and Branch guarantee, Brandon, the Kayce Smith guarantee. And you know I know sheets.
Yes, I do. I do know
that.
I
know sheets. You know I know sheets. Save it.
Yeah, you're right.
Best savings. Best
a lot
savings.
of guarantees being thrown around on the show, by the way.
I know, but this is actually my guarantee. My guarantee is that you will love your Boll and Branch sheets. So it's the best savings of the season during Boll and Branch annual summer event. For a limited time, you can get 20% off site-wide plus free shipping and a free gift with qualifying purchases at bollandbranch.com with promo code RUFF. That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com, promo code RUFF for 20% off and a free gift. Exclusions apply. See site for details. Again, the Kayce Smith guarantee. Also, they're great gifts. So if you don't know what to give somebody, I guarantee you Boll and Branch across the board, but especially their sheets.
Yes, Boll and Branch. Big Ev, who's the linebackeriest linebacker of all time?
I'm incredibly torn here between two guys. I don't want to say both because I want to give the opportunity to everyone else. You know what? I'm going to say Patrick Willis. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Patrick Willis, who literally as she was reading that, I literally pulled up the pictures of the two of them.
Yeah.
Just to like give one last like who's more linebackery, and there's an argument for the other guy. I'll say it at the end because I think someone might say it. But Patrick Willis, the visor, those massive shoulder pads that they used to wear back in like even 10, 15 years ago. He had the club on his one arm for most of it. I mean, just a scary, scary man, Patrick Willis.
That's a great answer. That's a phenomenal answer. Also great, not just a linebacker, a looking linebacker, but just a great player too. I'm curious. I think I wonder if your other one is who I'm going to say. I didn't think you were going to go SEC there because of your Ohio. I mean, Ohio State has a history of some linebackery-ass linebackers.
Yeah, there's. I guess I should say there's two more that I had on the list. I didn't want to be too homer. I wanted to give the deep cuts for the people.
Kayce Smith.
So this is the one that I went out of the ramifications of me seeing this man play. I was not alive when this man was in college, but I was alive when he played in the NFL for a little bit. And he is the only two-time Butkus Award winner, and that is Brian Bosworth, the Boz. When you look at somebody who looks like a linebacker, no matter how he did his hair, at one point, he had the mullet with it was like blonde on top, dark hair, just like a massive human being. And I know he ended up doing some acting and whatever, but when you talk about a guy that looks like a linebacker, obviously played like a linebacker, and won the Butkus Award twice, that's my linebackeriest linebacker, and that would be one Brian Bosworth.
It's a good one. It's a very good one.
I had to do it. I know when did he graduate from Oklahoma?
87, yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't born yet, but everyone knows the Boz. I had to.
Yeah, we all can see his picture. Yeah, we can see him in our mind. That's a great answer. Mine is around the same time as Willis, maybe a little bit later, but he played at the University of Florida. And listen, no linebacker in the history of football has looked more like a linebacker than Brandon Spikes. And I don't know if he's the best player of all time. I mean, he's a very good player. But Brandon Spikes at Florida, when he would stand in that middle of that defense, I'd be like, I wouldn't even snap the ball. There's no chance. I'm not running in there. I'm not throwing in there. Brandon Spikes is over there, and he's going to kill all of us. He is the best-looking linebacker, and he was a great player. He was fast. He was physical, and Patrick Willis was a great player. But when I think linebacker, I think LeVar Arrington, 99 Penn State, but I think more Brandon Spikes, number 51 in the middle of that Florida defense. That's my answer for that one. Liam Blutman.
That photo is a perfect example of if somebody ever asks you, what does a linebacker look like?
Right. I mean, if I held that up, you had to know who that was. I said, what position does he play? You're going to say, well, that's a linebacker.
Yes.
Look at his arms. Look at him.
I mean, he's insane.
All right. Liam Blutman.
I went with two-star Scooby. I went with Scooby Wright. At Arizona, the 2014 season he had where he finished top 10 Heisman voting. His career kind of how do I exemplified the life of a linebacker, right? He played a great 2 seasons, and now he's dealing with all these injuries, and he doesn't pan out in the NFL. He falls to the 7th round. He has to be like a USFL champion, and now he's just retired recently due to a neck injury. He had the arm tattoos, that warrior kind of eye black that you'd see under that Arizona helmet, and 2014 Scooby Wright was just an unbelievably tremendous player. It was the best season of his life, and it's not even close, and none of his other seasons could even come close to matching it.
Yep.
And just being a two-star mm-hmm. Scooby, what nickname?
I think we were in November by the time I realized he was a white guy.
I remember when you figured that out, and I
remember his name. I was like, this guy at Arizona is good as hell.
Yeah.
And then I saw a picture. I'm like, who's your other one, Big F?
Paul Plesney. It almost was too basic, bitch, but the cowboy collar. I mean, there's something to just being a Penn State inside linebacker is just very linebacker. Plesney, and then of course give a shout out to James Laurinaitis, now linebackers coach at Ohio State, but he had the look as well. But Plesney, just when I think college linebackers, I think Penn State, like you said, LeVar Arrington. I think the cowboy collar, just white tape on the wrists, just bad.
I had another one that was just I think a linebacker. For some reason, like you think of Penn State, I think of Auburn in the SEC. Carlos Dansby at Auburn was just a linebacker-looking dude. Luke Kuechly at Boston College.
Yep.
That was a good one.
Mark Herzlich.
But see, I don't feel like Luke Kuechly ever looked like a linebacker until he was in his pads.
He's too clean cut. I agree with
Yeah,
Kayce.
like he was
That's
like
why,
he was
that's why I didn't put him on my list.
he's
Okay.
the guy that like when you put him on like in normal street clothes and you like posted him on the internet, that like girls that don't follow college football are like, oh my god, that guy is so hot. I'm not saying that linebackers can't be hot. I'm just saying if you're gonna be like a gritty linebacker, you can't also be incredibly pretty, which he is.
Then you could go with Mark Herzlich too, out of Boston College.
I know who that is.
I know.
Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't one of those. That was
The
just
way that you shook your head.
talking. I was
like-
trying to conversate.
That's not converse. It's converse. It's not conversate.
I was trying to
Conversate's
convert.
not a word, and I hate when people use it.
Cancer
Well,
survivor.
I didn't think that'd be a who. That wasn't even a thought. I just was just saying, like,
You missed one in the quarterback category. I just realized.
No, I just put it. I put it deeper into the category.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so it's coming up. Like this one's I get back to defense in a minute, but best. I just had best kicker right here. Best. You think college kicker? Who's the first one that comes to your mind? Big F.
I mean, maybe the biggest bust in NFL history, but he didn't miss in college. is Roberto Aguayo. That guy was unbelievable. I mean, he got picked. This man got picked in the second round of the NFL draft. The second round. Now, granted, he was an accountant 2 years later, but I mean, at Florida State, he was unbelievable. Felt like automatic during his time. I'm going Roberto Aguayo. I wanted to go with another Florida State quarterback. I wanted to go Janikowski, but I wasn't alive for him, so I felt a little disingenuous going there. But Roberto Aguayo.
Kayce.
Ev, this is not my answer, but now I'm blanking. I know I've asked you this probably 1,700 times. Who was the Missouri kicker that you and I always watched together? That we
Mevis?
always
Harrison Mevis last year?
Mevis.
He was who made. Yeah, he made. I needed that. I bet them
Not
against
just
Kansas
last
State.
year.
I needed that bad.
I feel like Mevis has been around for a few years because I feel like at one point when we were in the Jersey gambling house and like everyone was watching all the games and like Ev and I had money on Missouri and we were like just high-fiving over Mevis the kicker. My answer is Mason Crosby. Like, I feel like that's like, I mean, I know, like I looked it up because I was like very curious because like kicking to me is always crazy because it's like you'll see a guy that's like, oh, he can kick 50 plus yards. Like, if you can kick 60 yards, like to me, that's obviously like unbelievable. I think he did that once or twice. But the biggest thing that I did not know until I was looking him up last night, he was perfect in college in an under 10 minutes of a football game. Like I know that to me is like crazy. Like if you have to go up, you know, like whether it's last minute or whatever, like if you are perfect in the end of the fourth quarter, to me, that's awesome. He was just he was automatic at Colorado. So I'm going Mason Crosby.
So I'm going to one up Big Ev's Florida State kicker that was a second round pick with the other guy. He said the Florida State kicker who was a first round pick. The Raiders picked him. They had the 17th pick of the draft. And they said, you know what? We're going to take this kicker. And it was crazy. But the crazy part is it wasn't that crazy. Like Janikowski had this big ass leg. And he was, he was big and he was physical, and you just thought he could kick it from anywhere. And it didn't really work out in the pros. It didn't work out in the pros. I guess he had an okay little career.
He was on the Raiders for a long time.
Yeah, but it wasn't. He's a first round pick. Like it wasn't a first. You didn't get first round pick return out of Janikowski. But even in college, though, like he was just this. I think he had. It was just like this beer drinking fat. Just this big guy that would kick it a mile. It's Sebastian Janikowski for me.
Well,
William Blutman. Yeah.
I know I keep doing this. I'm sorry. To be a good college kicker is just like very rare. I feel like sometimes, like, I mean, you can be good, but like to be really great. Like Janikowski is one of those guys that you just know, like if you're going to name a kicker, his name's going to come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
My dad's favorite story would tell me as a kid was they're playing the Orange Bowl or something one year, and he got like a public intoxication or something like that the week of.
Yeah.
And it was after they'd obviously missed all those kicks against Miami and in big games prior. And they asked Bowden, like, oh, what are you going to do? Are you going to discipline him? And Bobby Bowden said, we have different rules for our Polish players. That's my dad's like one of his favorite stories to tell me, like growing up about Janikowski. That was like, he was like, we're not losing another fucking game.
No.
We have the best kicker on planet Earth. I don't give a fuck what he does this week. He's playing.
He could have vodka in his water bottle on the sidelines for all we give a shit.
Liam.
Some of the kickers I was of were Tyler Bass, Riley Patterson, Jake Elliott. but I went with Josh Carty out of Stanford. He didn't miss a single field goal in the 2022 season, and he hit a field goal from 61 yards in the game against Cal. And he just got picked by the Rams. I think he'll be a good NFL kicker.
Okay.
Do we have a tally, Brandon?
No, I knew those guys. Kickers stand out and then they don't stand out. They blend together a little bit. So when he said Josh Carty, I didn't know off the top of my head where he played, but I knew the name. Damon Duval from Auburn came to my mind. Damon Duval played at Auburn for 22 years from 1986 to 2008. That's a little bit of exaggeration, but not much. Anyway, let's go with our next category, and this is back to the offense. And this is one I came up with later and I said, well, I got to do this one. Favorite lefty quarterback, favorite left-handed quarterback. And if there is one that's going across the board unanimous here, I think this is the category. Big Ev, you start us off.
I mean, when this category came, there was a few names that came up, but I was only going with one name as my representation, and that's the hefty lefty. That's Mr. Jared Lorenzen, RIP. I mean, just obviously big. I mean, his highlight reel is incredible. It is stunning that a man that big was able to be that successful at quarterback in college football, and then was a backup. The NFL won the Super Bowl.
I say this with all great respect and reverence. Like there are big guys, there are thick guys. He was playing quarterback, and he was fat.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%.
And it was unbelievable. It was just like he's the fattest guy out there, and he's just playing, and he's just fucking balling. He's throwing balls over his head.
He could spin that thing, man. He was accurate, and he could run. He really could move. He was a legitimate threat when he tucked it and ran. Yeah. A great scramble. When you talk about scramble as well, like a legitimately very good scrambler. And like you said, played in the NFL, wasn't just some like gimmick guy, like a legit could really play. So
if Eli went down, they could throw him out there and be fine.
He was the backup for, I believe, can't remember which one of the Super Bowls the Giants won. He was the backup.
Kayce.
Yeah, I mean, the hefty lefty, he when you have it in your nickname, like you have to be everybody's favorite. And like not just in football, but in general, when I see athletes that are fat and overweight, like running around like all the super in shape ones, I'm like, I just don't understand how this is possible. Like you think about these days, like Patrick Mahomes goes viral when he has like a tiny little, like they say dad bod, which is crazy because it's not, or like when Tom Brady did, like this man was actually like a fat man and he was a hefty lefty. However, so that's like the easy answer. My favorite of all the college quarterbacks I've ever watched that has a left hand is Tim Tebow. I mean, Tim Tebow, obviously, it was like, that's somebody that, you know, I think if you're a college football fan in our era, like obviously you probably enjoyed watching him unless you were one of his rivals.
Yeah, there's a lot here. And by the way, my answer is 100% Jared Lorenzen. It is Jared Lorenzen. I mean, but you got Michael Vick, who we've already talked about. You got Tim Tebow. You've got all these great guys. I just remember getting pissed off watching Kellen Moore because it just looked so easy for him.
Tua is left-handed, right?
Tua's left-handed, and Matt Leinart, won a Heisman, but it's
Penix last
year. Penix, yeah.
But it's Jared Lorenzen.
If it's your nickname, it has to be the answer. And Jared Lorenzen, what year did he pass? It's been a while now.
Well, no, I was at Barstool. I think it was
I think about 4-ish years, 4 or 5 years.
I was going to say 2020, 2021.
I thought it was pre-COVID. But anyways, it's like that. And as soon as like when people are using hefty lefty more than Jared Lorenzen, like in their like RIPs, like that's a hell of a nickname.
The Pillsbury throw boy.
Yep. Whatman.
Yeah, discount Lorenzen was Holton Ahlers at East Carolina, but I went with Kellen Moore. He helped get me into this sport, so pretty easy answer.
Next one is, and I didn't know how to define this one either. I said swaggiest player, and I don't know if that means cockiest or just the best looking in the uniform or just the guy that goes out there and just lets his dick hang and there's nothing you can do about it. That's kind of the guy I'm thinking about. Swaggiest player. Big Av, what you got?
Brandon, I think I picked a guy that checks all the boxes you just said.
Yeah.
Just swaggy on the field, just stone cold playmaker, just didn't give a damn. I'm going with the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu.
Oh, I like it a lot.
Just guys that are playmakers are swaggy. I mean, this guy, the amount of touchdowns that he scored on defense just felt like impossible. The amount of plays he made. He wore the one eye black, which kind of became a thing for a little bit, and he was the one who really made that a thing, which defines like what I consider swag. When you're like a trendsetter, he was truly a trendsetter, and just swaggy on the field, off the field. Honey Badger was of my favorite players watching college football. When I thought of swaggiest player off the top of my head, he was the first one that popped in my mind. So Tyrann Mathieu, the honey badger.
He was also one of the first players that ever blocked me on Twitter. I have no idea why.
Really?
No idea. I was at Barstool, and it was at the old office. I think it was either 2018, maybe early 2019. 2018, and I went to go see something, and he blocked me on Twitter. And Jack Mack was like, "Well, what'd you say?" And I'd never tweeted about him before.
That's soft.
Sad.
That's soft.
Yeah, that is soft. Brandon.
Kayce, go.
I mean, homer answer. I think it's Johnny Manziel. I think just like what he was able to do with social media and the money Manziel and just everything that came with that. Whether I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan, but obviously Drake is pretty fucking cool. Hanging out with Drake, you've got Lil Wayne rapping about you. You've got all the glitz and the glamour, and he did not give a damn, obviously. And so I think when you talk about swaggiest players in my era, you have to add Johnny. And then I do, and this is everyone that's listening, and I'll probably maybe not Liam because he's nice to me, will roll your eyes at this, but I think that I didn't see him play in college, or I guess I did for a little bit, but Deion Sanders is the swaggiest player in football history.
He's up there. Yeah. No,
I mean, to play in a Super Bowl or an NFL game and then fly to play in the World Series and all that stuff, and that was all pre-social media. To me, he is the answer for that, but for my homer answer, it'll obviously be Johnny Manziel, which I don't think is that homer for that.
So if you ask me the question, who's the swaggiest player of all time, what you're really asking me is, who is your favorite old school Miami Hurricanes player? That's what you're asking me, because that whole team could be the answer. And I don't care if you're thinking 80s or the early 2000s, either one of those. That something about the uniform, the way they carry themselves, it's a Miami Hurricane, and then I'll figure it out later. And to me, the answer is Ed Reed. Ed Reed just sauntered on the field. Ed Reed didn't walk, he didn't run. He just kind of sauntered around, and he knew he was the baddest motherfucker on the field. He didn't do the Sean Taylor, visor like Sean Taylor. By the way, Sean Taylor would be a good answer here.
I literally have him right above Johnny because I know we'll talk about those later. That visor, I told Ev, I looked it up last night. If I was a Miami fan in the early 2000s, everything I wore would have that visor on it somehow.
Yeah. To me, my answer is Ed Reed, just because he was one of the best players and he just acted like it. He carried himself like it. He did it into the pros. Ed Reed's the answer. Liam.
Ed Reed once tweeted me just the word no. That was his entire tweet to me.
What was it in response to?
I made a joke about Tate Martell at Miami with some truly awful scrambling, and he has said no, and he did not like my joke.
It looks like Ed Reed got the final word on that one.
I didn't think Tate Martell was good. That was I said putting on a display of Lamar Jackson jukes. I was making a joke. I never liked Tate.
Tate Martell is
never was a fan. As a Vegas kid, never was a fan.
So Liam, I don't expect you to know the background of this podcast, in and out, because obviously we've been going for a long time. Tate Martell was a reoccurring character for me and Jack. We both could not stand that kid.
That makes sense.
He's asked my dude.
He is. Shout out Nick Starkel. My answer for this one is Sean Taylor. Even though he played in 0103, I still feel like I could go and use that one. The pictures exist and everything. Dude was just very cold. Some other ones that come in name. Two guys who had swag in their nicknames. Jamal Swag Daddy Williams and Chad Swag Kelly.
Chad Swag Kelly. Oh yeah. My.
Swag Kelly.
Who's the first one?
Jamal Williams, his nickname. He played with Lions, Packers, etc.
Just two.
Okay, so I got
Jamal.
Who did he play with? Jamal Williams.
The Lions, the Packers. His nickname just Swag Daddy. He loves anime and always talking about Pokemon, Naruto. Okay. You know him.
Brandon, he was the guy. He was the guy this year that Jameis got him the touchdown at the end. And Arthur Smith got really pissed.
I certainly don't remember him as I don't remember him as Swag Daddy.
I certainly don't either. I knew who he is.
I'm pretty sure he got suspended at BYU for having sex.
Well, that's pretty
sure. Pretty sure
that do at BYU.
Him and Brandon Davies. Romeo Dobbs was also very cold.
That's two who's. That's not three.
Oh.
Okay. No, you should know Romeo. Romeo was sick.
I know Romeo. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you should know him. He was sick.
Yeah, I know Romeo, but that's just, the other one was my second who.
I'm surprised by that one.
You're running out of time for your third, by the way. We don't have that many more.
You know,
we have more. We have so much more.
Okay.
You know what's swaggy, Brandon?
Yes, please tell me.
Having chef-made meals in your fridge, just ready to go. Swaggy. You don't have to have all the ingredients. You don't have to go to the grocery store. We know how much this podcast loves Factor. They're fresh. They're never frozen. And the best thing, they're ready in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you never have to worry about it because you'll always have time to enjoy these nutritious and great tasting meals. If you're listening or watching this podcast and you were watching Surviving Barstool, which there will be a new season coming up, but like the last season, Factor was the presenting sponsor, and like the guys were obsessed with it. Like I just will never forget the time like Dave ate the filet and was like, "This is from Factor." Like he truly couldn't believe how good it is, and that is. I'm not going to say Kayce Smith guarantee because we don't throw around guarantees for everything, but this is obviously a product that Brandon knows I've been using forever. I talked about it long before the podcast. I even pay for it. They have a menu of 35 different meals, more than 60 add-ons every single week. You get to select it, and then it's from breakfast to dessert. You've got easy, nutritious options, and we're giving away a lot of money right now. So head to factormeals.com/roughness50 and use our code roughness50, and you get 50% off your first box plus 20% off the next month. So that's a lot of money off. That's, some would say, around 70%. That's code roughness50 at factormeals.com/roughness50. You get 50% off your first box and then 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Crush your nutrition goals this July. Get ready for the fall with Factor.
All right. The next one is most intimidating defensive lineman you've ever seen. Big F.
All right, this guy, probably the most ferocious, most physical, most aggressive, but really just the best. I think maybe the best interior D lineman. I'll say best two I've seen in probably my day. Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah.
Was just put the fear of God in the offense, specifically the interior of the offensive line. I mean, he was a guy where when you watch football, I think even for a casual football watcher, it's rare that a D tackle is like you watching him and like that guy's the best guy in the football field today. Yeah. And he did that every single time he stepped in the field, especially his final season. There's even strong argument he probably should have won the Heisman that year.
He should have won the Heisman.
He was the best football player that year, bar none. But it was just scary. I mean, just Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah.
To me, was the easy answer. He was the only name I had written down. The only category I only had one name. He was it.
Fair enough. Kayce.
Ndamukong Suh was there for me too, and this is not a homer answer because I truly believe he's that intimidating, but I think Myles Garrett has to be up there. I mean, just the way that his body is built, and I didn't mean to sound creepy, but I did. But I remember when he was a high school recruit and he came to College Station and I was still working there thinking like, this kid is 17, 18 years old, just an absolute beast of a human being that you just don't want to line up. Like he just doesn't even look human. And obviously I think that has continued as we've watched him play in the NFL. But if you watched him play in college, like that was somebody that you just did not want to have to face. And so I'm going to go with Myles Garrett.
I think a good intimidating defensive lineman is both strong, physical, big, but most of all, he might be a little crazy. And I think when he was at Miami and then a little bit at Tampa Bay, I always thought there was a chance Warren Sapp is actually crazy. He's actually insane. Like he seems to being a defensive lineman can't be fun. You're going up against 350 pounders. You're doing the dirty work. It can't be fun. He's one of those rare ones that looked like he enjoyed it, and Suh is another one that's the same way. But to me, the answer is Warren Sapp at Miami. I know I'm going back to these Miami teams a lot, but shit, I mean, fuck, they were good. Warren Sapp, my answer.
The crazy thing is like really true because if you're going to be intimidating, you've got to have the question of like, are they going to kill me today? Like, Are they going to beat my ass? And Suh is obviously like, I already talked about like dirty players. That's another reason. And I know this happened in the NFL, but like Myles Garrett using a helmet as a weapon, like there's crazy in there.
Warren Sapp just took out an offensive lineman, just ruined his season because he just for fun.
Because he could.
Yeah. He broke Chad Clifton in the open field for no reason whatsoever. Liam Blutman, your hair is just going through, it's just devolving as we go.
Sean Oakman meme against Michigan State.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. And if Sean is watching, probably the best looking man I've ever seen, the nicest man, and just a hell of an American. And God bless you, Sean Oakman, wherever you are.
Probably in Canada. CFL.
Okay.
I think he's still there.
I don't know. Wherever he is, I hope he's doing great.
Okay.
My next category is...
Do you, though? Do you?
Me?
Yeah.
Shut up. My next category is the most full of shit coach. And
he's playing
boy,
for the Edmonton Elks.
All right. We could talk for days about the most full of shit coach. This is a one name category for me, and I might be able to take the rest of the show to talk about it, but I'm interested to see what Big Ev thinks about this.
I won't take yours, Brandon. It's Jim Harbaugh. Next question.
Okay. All right. That's it. That's your explanation.
That's it.
All right. Kayce Smith.
I mean, so I will say that I didn't want to do like actual criminals. So like Art Briles is up there, but we all know how I fucking feel about Art Briles, so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I mean, it's Urban Meyer. It's absolutely Urban Meyer, and it's not just because at Ohio State. This man has found every which way to create some sort of illness or some sort of physical ailment to leave where he is. So he had the heart issues, he had the headaches. The picture of him like bending over on the sidelines against Michigan, and then he just miraculously is fine.
Can I stop you right there? Just not a big deal. Thoughts, Big Ev?
I mean, it's just a shame on this show that we make light of just health issues, health concerns. I mean,
this man was in charge of. You want to talk about criminals? This man in 2007, when you really
that's in Florida. Whoa, that's in Florida.
But I'm saying as a whole, it's full of shit. Like that roster is so full of like that's a penitentiary. You're telling me that this man who just like turned a blind eye to Aaron Hernandez, get the fuck out. And then all the stuff that went on at Ohio State, and all of a sudden his head hurts too bad to coach. But I'll tell you, when he hasn't had headaches, Brandon, when he's sitting up at that Fox desk, he looks great. He has no issues, but he finds ways to disappear whenever all these problems start arising, and then he has a way to skirt away. The man is so full of shit. He's so full of shit.
Let's pressure on the desk. Man, it's the weight of the world. The weight of you try being the head coach at Ohio State.
I'm sure it's really hard, but guess what? I feel like if you have to like make up physical ailments every time your program's about to get in trouble because you're a piece of shit, then maybe you're a piece of shit.
Makeup, I think, is being used very loosely here, but
this is all cute and it's all wonderful and it's all.
We know where Brandon's going.
But folks, I can count on one hand the number of coaches who have baptized their own players, who have stepped into waters and baptized them as believers in Jesus Christ, and then have gone on Sundays and preached the word of God and used that to absolutely cheat to levels that are still being discovered while at Ole Miss, and now he's at Auburn. But this guy, Hugh Freeze, was talking and preaching and taking donations and doing everything, and he was perfect and he was holy and he was this. And not only that, he left them with the biggest cheating scandal in the history of the school. He left them with more problems to clean up, and thank God for them. Lane Kiffin came and finally cleaned up that mess. And, oh, by the way, he's baptizing players. He's preaching. He's doing all this. He's telling everybody how great he is. Why does he get fired? Because he's calling hookers on the side and dipping it. And I don't know. And, boy, I think he got away scot-free on that, because there's one thing if you're calling hookers for yourself. But if you're doing it for other reasons, whoo, my God. But Hugh Freeze is the most full of shit human being who has ever been involved with college football. It is not close. Urban Meyer, yeah, he had a picture with some pizza. Urban Meyer, yeah, he had some headaches. You know, everybody, Jim Harbaugh, like, I get it. He's your rival. I get it. Hugh Freeze is a bad person who pretends and campaigns as the best person. Fuck him. He's the most full of shit human being ever involved in college football.
Brandon, I had a core memory come up that I'm sure we've talked about, and I'm sure I've said it on the podcast at one point. But when I was going through because I had, Urban Meyer is by far my answer, but I was like, Brandon's going to take Hugh Freeze for understandable reasons. I remember there was a time that I was in Oxford when I was with the SEC Network and ESPN, and I was there for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, because I was doing like their spring tour and their spring game and like whatever. And I remember his strength and conditioning coach or somebody on that staff like letting me into the gym a lot so I could like work out in the weight room while the team was practicing. And I remember saying that hearing that Hugh Freeze had a rule that coaches could not curse in the weight room, that they were not allowed to use swear words in the weight room. And at the time I was like, oh, like, I guess he's like really trying to set an example for these guys. You couldn't say fuck, but you could fuck a hooker.
Hey, most full of shit dude that's ever been involved in college football. When the first wave of allegations came down, he was still at Ole Miss. He texted Mississippi State beat writers and would say, "My brother in Christ, I hope you know I would never do any of this stuff, and this is all made up." Like, you motherfucker. And then he goes to Liberty, and now he's just back at Auburn. Whatever. Liam Blutman.
September 9th. Oh, messed that up. September 23rd is what I meant to say. Numbers are tough in my brain because I was doing the 0923, whatever. September 23rd, 2006, Penn State, Ohio State. Penn State runs their punting unit out onto the field, and you could see Joe Paterno jogging across. And, yeah, I mean, he didn't return till after halftime. That right there, the guy pooped his pants.
The guy was literally full of shit.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. That's a dang good answer. For, you know what? In more ways than one, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's just the tip of the iceberg for that.
Wow. Good answer there, Liam. Let me see what I got next. I have best road grading offensive lineman, and you could take this many ways. Just really, it's just the biggest, baddest motherfucker that ever played offensive line. That's how I take it. What do you got, Big F?
So the homer in me, I wanted to go Orlando Pace, but I didn't get to actually watch him, so I won't do that. But I wanted to give him a shout out.
I'll go first then, Big F. The answer is Orlando Pace.
Thank you. Yes.
Orlando Pace in '96. He finished fourth place for the Heisman Trophy as an offensive lineman.
That's crazy.
He killed people. Orlando Pace is the answer. I'm not a Buckeye, but Orlando Pace is the answer. Now, continue, Big F.
Thank you. So the answer I'm going to go with who actually played during my time. There was two. Going with one because he just was a big, scary motherfucker. And that's Andre Smith from Alabama. Mm-hmm. This man was huge and just, I mean, he was in real life who they made Michael Orr look like in high school in the blind side. That's who Andre Smith was in college football at Alabama. Just tall, big, just ferocious. Just a guy that will throw your ass out the club. Andre Smith.
Did Brandon freeze?
Kayce.
We're back.
Yeah. Okay. He's back. I'm going to go with another guy from Alabama. And I took it less from like a ferocious angle, but somebody that was just like very decorated and able to do it was Barrett Jones at Alabama. I mean, just the fact that he started at right guard and was really fucking good there and then slid out to left tackle and was really fucking good there. And I know a lot of offensive linemen can kind of place where they need to be. Like that man could play at a high level at both, and just like winning the national title that year, like you knew that he was going to protect his quarterback. And I just think that any offensive lineman, and I know there's like a quote, I'm going to butcher it right now, but it's like, if you're like an offensive lineman, like if you don't hear anything bad, then you're doing your job well. And then there's that like next level of guys that are so good that you just like can't not talk about him. He's in that for me. So I'm going to put him as the most road graded offensive lineman.
I already said Orlando Pace. Liam Blutman.
So I went, dude, this one was very difficult. There's so many just unbelievably talented. Because I really went to the whole run blocking game here and kind of thought through that. Trent Williams, I couldn't choose because I just wasn't there for time. Peter Skoronski was literally moving dudes out the way. Creed Humphrey, Travis Frederick, Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, but I just went with someone that was just a few years ago at Iowa, Tyler Linderbaum. Unbelievable how good he was, and he was changing the game at center, and really was he was. I mean, it's Iowa's offense, so like whatever, but game changer, a literal game changer at center.
Yeah, he was good. He was damn good. Where'd he go? The Ravens?
Yes.
Yep.
The Ravens always get every good player.
They just draft the best available.
Yeah. That's all. That's outside of the favorite player, which we'll do at the end. That's all my categories. So, Kayce, you can take over right here with categories.
Oh, I was going to let Ev go because we were, but I mean, I will go.
Well,
So,
did Big Ev, did you have some?
yeah.
I had the best receiver.
Oh, yes.
Which would be best hands, most explosive receiver, and then you had added best go up and get it receiver, and then our favorite gritty tight end. Those are the four that I
was just going in order of how I wrote them down, and I know Ev submitted his.
All right. Go ahead, Big Ev, with best hands.
So this one there's a few I wrote down. I'll go with the basic bitch answer because I think it's just truly the correct answer. And he had such a decorated NFL career. I mean, it's Larry Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you talk the best hands in college football, this guy, I mean, not only is a touchdown creator, but he caught everything. Literally everything. I think they said he had more in the NFL. He had more tackles than drops. I mean, he was that way even better in college. He was just unbelievable. Almost won the Heisman as well. Maybe even
he should have won the Heisman.
Should have won it. He was the best player. What was it, 2003?
Yeah,
he was the best player. Yeah, Larry Fitzgerald is the answer. But let me give a shout out to a guy, Rashad Green, as well, who was underrated at Florida State, who was phenomenal. I want to give him a shout out, but Larry Fitzgerald is the answer.
Kayce?
Yeah, this is one of those lists like I couldn't stop writing answers, but I mean, Randy Moss has to be up there. Randy Moss, I mean, he's Randy Moss, like the whole mossing thing and just, but the Michael Crabtree to me is also an answer. Like Michael Crabtree was a menace to society. That man does not get the love that he should if you weren't playing against his team. Michael Crabtree was so good. His gloves felt like they just had glue on them constantly, and he could just catch it no matter where it was on the field. And he truly is, and I know I've used this word a million times, so drink if you're listening responsibly. Trauma. Watching Michael Crabtree play against those A&M teams makes me want to cry. Like that man just was an unbelievable athlete.
The game-winning touchdown against Texas is one of the coolest plays I've ever seen.
I mean, he was just like there was nothing he could not catch.
2010 or 11. I think 2011. 2011. I'm at the Mississippi State South Carolina game. It's either a tie game or we're right behind them with about 3 minutes left. They've got 4th and goal on the 2-yard line. They put Alshon Jeffrey out by himself. Quarterback drops back, throws a fade. I just drop my head and don't look because I know the outcome. And I let the crowd tell me that he went up, he caught the ball. Alshon Jeffrey, to me, the answer is Larry Fitzgerald, by the way. Since it was taken, I wanted to give a shout out to Alshon Jeffrey because I don't think his pro career has been fine or was fine. But Alshon Jeffrey in college was a different animal. I wanted to say him. Liam.
Once upon a time, I only got to watch college football on one TV. And what I did with that opportunity was something that no other human has ever even considered doing in their lives. On one TV, I would watch Eastern Washington play against Weber State and Idaho State and whoever it be to watch Cooper Kupp. And I was doing that when he was a redshirt freshman in 2013. I was watching the Vernon Adams Cooper Kupp show. They also had other fun receivers on that team that came through that program, like Shaq Hill, like Kendrick Bourne, who went by Kendrick Bourne Pauly at the time before ending up like with the Patriots and everything. I could watch Cooper Kupp play football every second for the rest of my life could just be watching Cooper Kupp Eastern Washington tape over and over and over again. And it's not just what he did against the Big Sky and FCS opponents and making Eastern Washington a national championship contender. It's what he did against FBS teams every single year he was there, against Oregon State, against Washington, against Washington State, I believe, and then 2015 against Oregon when Mark Helfrich said he is all galaxy. He's not of this planet. He was that good. Cooper Kupp, undeniably. The numbers that he was putting up are gross.
This might be the most passionate speech anybody's ever given in the history of this company.
I mean, that was incredibly heartfelt. He
They-
said it with his chest.
Yeah.
Eastern Washington went out there and put up 52 points against Washington and 42 against Oregon the next year. Like, they were competitive in these games with programs that are significantly better than them, more funded, etc. Truly an amazing talent.
All right, Big Ev, what's our next category?
That's a most explosive wide receiver.
Oh, I got that one easy. What's yours, Big Ev?
So I had 2 for mine. I'm gonna go with one because he's near and dear to my heart. One of my favorite players ever in college, and my personal favorite high school highlight tape of all time. It's Mr. Tavon Austin.
Mm-hmm.
His time with Geno Smith.
I watched his highlights last night.
I mean, he is just, you talk all galaxy. I mean, this guy, you could not stop this guy. You just could not stop him. Just play after play after play. I mean, his highlights in college were so good. You had to break them up into seasons because if you did his career, it'd be like 20 minutes long. It'd be too long.
Have y'all seen the mic'd up NFL thing where there was a player a couple years ago that made his debut and he's on the field and he goes,
yes.
Is that Tavon Austin over there?
It was when he was on the Cowboys. I think
Yeah.
it was Austin on the Cowboys.
Is that Tavon Austin? I got to walk up and introduce myself to Tavon Austin. I think it was Naheem Hines, maybe. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. Anyway, go Kayce.
My 2 are Tavon Austin and then Larry Fitzgerald. We've already covered them, so keep it moving.
Okay, well, mine is I go back to that late 90s period, and this is a guy who didn't have a great NFL career and is not remembered as much as he should be remembered. He probably should have won a Heisman, but he had some issues off the field. Peter Warrick at Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't tackle him in a phone booth. Peter Warrick had some of the best moves. He was Tavon Austin before Tavon Austin, and I feel like if we had access to his highlight tape in high school, if we had access to his highlights as much as we do Tavon Austin, it'd be the same way. Peter Warrick was unbelievable. He was the best player on the best team, and he was the best player as like a 5'11", 180-pound receiver. Peter Warrick is my answer. It will always be my answer, and I think he's the most underappreciated, underrated player in college football history. Liam Blutman, most explosive receiver.
I mean, you gotta go with Khalil Pimpleton out of Central Michigan. Nah, you gotta go with Tavon Austin pretty easily. And then some of those Hawaii receivers back in the day too, playing with Colt Brennan, were
Devon Best.
Yes, they had, dude, what's his name?
I
don't remember. I can't think. But they had so many great players.
I think you're thinking of Devon Best.
No, I'm thinking of someone. Jason Rivers is one. I had to look it up. Jason Rivers is one.
Feels like you're talking about Devon Best.
But I'm not talking about only Devon Best is what I'm saying. Like, they had a bunch out there that were like so good. It wasn't just Devon Best. They had others.
Devon. Okay, all right.
Devon Best and Jason Rivers and like Kalohe Perales, whatever you say.
Big Ev, our next category.
Before we do that,
can I just say one more receiver though? Justin Blackman. That's it. I just want to say Justin Blackman.
Oh,
Justin
that's
Blackman.
a good
I just
one.
want to say that. Unbelievable.
Justin Blackman is like along the same category as like Michael Crabtree. I think Michael Crabtree's better, but like those are the guys that just like haunt if you have to play them. Something, Brandon, that I know is near and dear to your heart is a nice car. And when we have all these categories and all these options that we're talking about with all these players, and we could go a million different ways, you can do that on cars.com, Brandon, when you're looking for a car, can't you?
You very well can. And here's how my brain works. When you told me the last ad we were going to do was cars, I was like, why is a movie from 20 years ago sponsoring our show? No, cars.com, they got millions of cars added every day. They've got everything. Like, if you can think of it, you're going to find it on cars.com. And, cars are identities sometimes where you are what your car is, and nobody gets that more than cars.com.
Cars.com also makes it super easy and I know a lot of people like to go to car lots and like pick out their cars and get all the features, and that's fine, but you can sit wherever you are and just chill and literally select every single thing that you want your car, down to like air conditioning seats. And Brandon, I'm back in Texas and I know you're back in the South. Good God, it is hot down here, and there's nothing better than air conditioning seats. And I'm somebody that doesn't have a car because I live in Manhattan. But when I'm down here, I start remembering driving's pretty fucking fun. And cars.com, cars.com can help me out. So again, they're back. They were back with us last season. They are back. So make sure you get a better deal than you're getting anywhere else on cars.com.
All right. I think your next category is best go up and get it receiver, Big Ev, or
yeah, that was yours, but I thought a good choice.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go a little outside the box. I think there's a few others that I've written down that people will use. Guy from Western Michigan, Mr. Corey Davis, who is unbelievable, unstoppable. Didn't work out in the NFL, but that's not what this category is about. He was a stone cold killer in college. Obviously, that was the year I think they almost beat Wisconsin. They played in the was it Sugar or they played one of the big BCS bowls.
Cotton.
And he was great in that game as well. But he was just unbelievable. Just throw it up to him, he was going to catch it. Corey Davis.
Kayce.
Mine would be somebody that we haven't mentioned when we're talking about all these receivers that I feel like it was a good answer for this, and that's Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson could go up and get it. He obviously did that when he was in the NFL as well, but he is a guy that, like, no matter where that ball was thrown, he was going to go up, take it down, and then make a play afterwards. And then just an honorable mention, Mike Evans at A&M, because there are so many things that you see when Johnny would just launch that ball up in the air. If it was going Mike Evans' direction, he was going to come down with it. So
it was literally the meme, fuck it, Mike Evans down there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just down there somewhere. And Mike Evans has obviously continued to do that in the NFL. But to when you look at some of those highlights, and obviously Johnny got a ton of shine as well, he should have. But a lot of those had to do with the fact that Mike Evans was on the other side of those passes.
Apparently, I'm a big Florida State receivers fan because I went with Peter Warwick for explosive receivers. For go up and get it, I'm going with the guy who won a national championship with his ability to go up and get it. Kelvin Benjamin was a different kind of beast, man. He was a different kind of dude, and he was not fast. He was not particularly explosive, but if the ball was going his way and you were in the way, he was going up and getting it. Kelvin Benjamin's my answer for that one. Liam Blutman.
This category is very fun because, as Ev has alluded to, there's just a bunch of contested catch merchants that you could think of that could not pan out in the NFL to save their lives because they can't separate. So you have guys who come to mind like Travis Fulgham and Jason Duhart at Old Dominion. You have the Kenny Gallaudays of the world. Corey Davis was on my list as well. Off the top of my head, Jonathan Adams at Arkansas State, human highlight reel, what he was able to do. The game he had that was on Fox or Fox Sports 1 against Kansas State, he was making a contested, unreal highlight catch every single drive, it felt like. Chris Lewis, who played at Troy and transferred to, I believe he transferred to Kentucky for this season. That guy also, I believe, ironically, against Kansas State, made so many catches last season that were just jaw-dropping. That guy's a phenomenal talent. I believe he led the country in yards per catch last season, so that's a guy to look out for. My answer, though, Jaleel Scott at New Mexico State. Oh, my goodness, Jaleel Scott, what he was able to do defied logic for a New Mexico State receiver. That YouTube assignment for anyone who doesn't know Jaleel Scott, pull up some of the New Mexico State highlights. He would bend gravity, defy he would not go down, and he's just floating in the air forever, levitating and making these unreal one-hand backhand catches.
Who?
That's the category I knew would get you. Contested catch merchants that cannot separate, but just rely on their...
If you want to stop talking, I had like 4 who's in there.
I know. I'm sorry. They just relied on their God-given athletic, freak talent, and they could body these lesser, smaller DBs.
Brandon, your facial expressions are always funny. Like when you just set the microphone down because you were so many who's in. That was phenomenal comedy. Thank you.
All right, Kayce, you got some categories for us?
Yeah, I know that the last one that we had with Ev was best tight end.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to get this one out of the way. And like I said, I don't like to talk about criminals, but in my time, the best tight end I think I've seen play college football is Aaron Hernandez.
All right. Well, that makes you a bad person. Big Ev, who should you have for this?
Well, it was grittiest. And I really basically came up with this category to say this guy. It should just be called his name. Florida State's getting a lot of love in this program. Nick O'Leary is maybe my favorite college football player of all time. Known a lot for being Jack Nicklaus's grandson. That got said probably every Florida State game he played in for about 4 years straight. National title winner, was the tight end with that Kelvin Benjamin, Jameis, Devontae Freeman team. Unbelievable offense when you look back at it. But Nick O'Leary, maybe it was just the no gloves. Maybe that's what did it for me. A guy that in the
Pretty
like 2013 was not wearing gloves. Nick O'Leary, one of my favorite college football players of all time. Gritty tight ends, Nick O'Leary.
So I fucked that up, Big Ev. I just put best, but I mean I am gonna just double down on Aaron Hernandez. I feel like you have to have a lot of grit to kill people.
Sure.
He slept like a baby after it too.
Grit. First of all, you can tell what shaped my life as a college football fan, because apparently for like the first 20 years of my life, I was all Florida State and Miami, because every category is Florida State or Miami. There's another Miami guy. And in the pros, if you had a guy who would go get it. Anyway, it's Jeremy Shockey. Jeremy Shockey was nasty. Jeremy Shockey at Miami was fucking nasty. If it was 3rd and 4 and you needed 4.5 yards, just throw it in his direction. He's going to grab it and then hurt some linebacker. Jeremy Shockey was like that in the pros. When he played for the Saints, did he play for the Giants a little bit?
He was the Giants draft pick. The Giants.
Yeah, that's right. And then he played for the Saints.
Star for the Giants.
Yeah, that's right. He played about 5 or 6 years for them, and then went to the Saints and won a Super Bowl, right?
When I was a kid, yes. When I was a kid, he was like my favorite player. Like when you were like my age, 8 years old, it was. I mean, they basically made a rule for him because he was the guy who would always get his helmet knocked off and still run like a sicko.
Yeah, Jeremy Shockey.
The NFL literally changed that rule that you couldn't do that anymore. He was the main guy that basically made them have to change that rule.
And like Miami wasn't known for their toughness; they were just known for their swag, but they were tough. And he was just nasty, a nasty dude. I love Jeremy Shockey at tight end. Liam Blutman.
So I went with a recent player, and if you guys don't know what he looks like, I would just like for you guys to Google it quickly, whether you're here or like listening. Kayce at Minnesota. This is a fella just super gritty. He tweeted a picture out after a Minnesota practice of him just bloody and bruised and battered. That's just the game style he played, and he's a good ginger.
Good ginger.
He's a good ginger.
Yeah, look at the fella. Look at the fella. Look at the flow.
No, that's a ginger playing football right there.
That's a good ginger.
William, that's
no, that's
you.
not me. Look up look up Cody Mauk. Cody Mauk, North Dakota State. I need to get him in the office one of these days playing with the Buccaneers.
Does he look like you?
That one is way more alike. If you his hair's longer, and there's not as alike, but there's a similarity, I think.
All right, what else you got, Kayce?
So I this is just going along with the theme of the show, but I know we already talked about Sean Taylor, but I ask you guys, what is the best uniform combination you've ever seen? And I know we talk about helmets and we talk about jerseys, but Ev, what do you think the best uniform combination is?
This might be a little bit of a cop-out answer, but I think just what Oregon's done, I don't even know if you can like put a specific, maybe like the highlighter, like the true highlighter yellow or whatever, green, whatever you want to call them, with maybe the silver helmets, but they have so many. It's just what Oregon did with Phil Knight, and like that once he finally got a hold of that thing, with even just the wings and just Oregon. I don't even know if you can point a specific one, just Oregon in general.
So I gave mine away, and I mean that's why I was looking it up. But the early 2000s Miami, the Sean Taylor Oakley visor that was like the green and orange that had like the polarizing thing that they ended up having to ban because you couldn't see their eyeballs. But like you want to talk about intimidating, you want to talk about cool and swagger and every word possible. Like if you could just put Sean Taylor up there with that Oakley helmet and like the colors, like that to me is by far the coolest thing we've ever seen in college football.
The answer is 2001 Miami. But to me, it's 2001 Miami or late 90s Florida State. Florida State in the late 90s when it was, Chris Winkie and it was all those guys. That's just a perfect college football uniform. It looks nothing like an NFL uniform, but it stands out on its own. Those are the best, to me, those are the best uniforms in college that have a little bit of the eccentricities and a little bit different. They got the arrow on the side. They don't look like NFL helmets. That's why I don't like Penn State or Alabama. They're too plain. Give me something to hang on to, and that's why I like Florida State and Miami the most.
I like the design, like in the collar and like the armbands.
Yeah.
I thought that was very unique. No one else really did that.
Yeah, they had like the different designs that like you would see on like shirts on the beach. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the shirts that you can like roll up. Like that's what they did.
Liam Blutman.
So the mighty Oregon throwback that they wore in 2014 against Washington, which was a throwback to 1984. That uniform is my favorite Oregon uniform. I wish that they wore it every single week. I don't think it could be beat. It's the retro. That retro logo is so sick. And then some of the other ones I wrote down were BYU's white and royal blue, I think, is an unbelievably good look. And they're wearing a nice throwback this year against Kansas State to 1996. And then Cal's Joe Roth 1970 throwbacks are incredible. And Kansas State's alternate uniform, and they don't do this stuff often, that they wore in 2022 against Tulane. That's why they don't do it often, because they lose in alternates. That helmet is so sick. I didn't bring pictures, sorry.
Okay. Kayce, what else we got? We're banking up on 2 hours, by the way.
I know. That's what I say. I have more, but I'm just going to do the last two.
Okay.
One that you guys know, and then one just that is in honor of the video game. So the last one that I gave to you guys that we added to the list was, I said either foxhole guy or locker room guy, but you said like who the most motivating coach to you in college football history is. Ev.
He's given a few of my favorite speeches, and he's recently still the coach right now. It's Jeff Monken, head coach of Army. Yep. I mean, the range is hot. I mean, it's just one of the best speeches of all time. He has a few of them. I mean, he went out there that they almost beat Michigan. They were going out there just Jeff Monken. I mean, he's the guy. To me, the first name I thought of was Jeff Monken.
Yeah, I'm just going to double down on that. I asked this because of him, because like every year when we do the Army Navy game, we talk about his speeches, and like Dan Campbell with the Lions when he did like the kneecap speech, like that to me like is what Jeff Monken does in college. And then to be the Army head coach too, like you want that guy in your foxhole, you want that guy in your corner, because you're not only motivating football players, you're motivating military guys, and that to me is pretty badass.
I'm going to go with Tony D'Amato for the Miami Sharks. He was just very, very in your face, and he would talk about the 1 inch in front of your face, and he'd get guys ready to go. And he had a very good charisma about him. He was like a Hollywood actor out there doing it, like delivering like a speech. I'm going to go with Tony D'Amato for the Miami Sharks.
Brilliant.
Liam?
I am trying to think. I had brought an answer for locker room coach, and I was going to say Coach O and joke about how that locker room was literally run by the players, and former players would come in and just give people money and stuff. Odell says it was fake money, whatever. That was what was at the top of my mind. Most motivating coach is a completely different conversation.
We'll go with locker room coach.
Yeah, Brandon kind of put it.
No, because think of that on a graphic will not look right. For Coach O being most motivating, there's no way.
It could be. Players loved him.
Yeah, I know, but
they won a national title.
What?
What?
I think it's a good answer. I really don't.
I do
too. So fine, if you want me to say Coach O, then
I don't think you should say it. Not say out of fear of the graphic. To me, that's
right.
That's disingenuous.
Fine, Coach O.
Okay. And
don't let us twist your arm.
Yeah, right. And I don't think it's a bad answer. Like, yes, the players were running the locker room, but they did win a national title, and he had no business winning a national title.
He was the interim king. That's like Mr. Motivation.
Yeah.
You throw that guy in a bad locker room, and he turns it around.
Yeah.
Okay, this is true. I just got very worried that there were more Okay, we're good.
Okay, so my last one that I did not give you guys in honor of NCAA 25 coming out, EA Sports. I know we are what is it, a week from now?
You can get it early the 16th, and it comes out wide release the 19th.
Okay, so who is the best ever player to play with on NCAA?
That has ever happened, or that will if you just open up the entire history of college football?
No, I'm saying that on the video game, because I know you guys have all played, who is the best player to play with in the game that has happened thus far, not the game that's coming out?
My favorite player to ever play with was Vince Young. Vince Young was the fastest player on the field, and he was a great running back. It was great everything. Vince Young's appearance in NCAA 05 or 06 is the greatest video game athlete that isn't Bo Jackson or John Dowd for MVP baseball. Big F?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I already used him for an answer. I think I'd have to go Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
Just
That's a good one, too.
just a cheat code type running back in that game. I mean, Brandon, but there's probably some truth to the hype and all that was around him, maybe overset maybe his true talent. But in terms of just a video game guy, that's a 99 across the board. Just especially in that era where you're running the ball so much, you can return kicks, punts.
Oh, he was fucking sick on that game, dude.
Yeah,
he was
insane.
Sick.
Reggie Bush.
Kayce?
Liam?
Oh,
I've never played it, so
okay.
Stop laughing at the oofs.
The oofs are funny. The oofs are funny.
Sorry. running back number 1 on Kent State. Tree Archer.
He's fast as fuck. He's
fast as fuck. Yeah, no, I haven't played it, but I'm going to attempt to play the new one. But I know everybody. I keep seeing all the memes that are like, "Say goodbye to your boyfriends and husbands, ladies, because in 10 days they're disappearing." So I know it's coming. But I have a lot more on here, but we've been going over for 2 hours, so I don't feel like we need.
Well, we're going to wrap it up with one last question.
One last question.
One last question, and everybody gets 45 seconds to answer.
Okay, so we did most full of shit.
No. I've got the question.
Oh.
Yeah.
Favorite ref?
Shut up. The last question is this: who is your favorite college football player of all time? Big F.
It's a loaded question. I'm gonna go with a guy who I called my shot with him. I've told the story a few times that I watched his first game of college football ever. I called my father that night watching him. I said, "This guy, I've never seen anything like him. He's gonna win the national title. He's gonna win the Heisman Trophy." Both came true. That's one Mr. Jameis Winston, a guy that I believed in more than anyone ever. Had just
that first game. That first game was so awesome.
First game, they played Pitt. It was either a Thursday or Friday night.
No, it was Monday night.
Monday. Okay, I know it was a weekday. I knew it was not a Saturday. I knew it was a week. It was like a weeknight, and he just lit. I had never seen anything like him. They talked about in the broadcast, he's the only guy that Nick Saban had ever go to see in person in high school, and he still didn't go play for Nick Saban. I mean, him and Jimbo Fisher, with Kelvin Benjamin, Rashad Green, and Devontae Freeman, and Nick Lear did that season was magical. He just, I think he was like 25 for 27, over 300 yards, maybe 4 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. And I was like, this guy is the best quarterback I've ever seen. I mean, he put every single ball in their chest like he was handing it to them.
Yeah, and I think the 2 incompletions were dropped.
They were. I mean, I'm sure they were. He was incredible. Jameis Winston, I loved him so much. I still love him to this day. Jameis Winston.
Kayce?
This is absolutely a nostalgic answer, and it is an absolute homer answer, but we talk a lot about like who got us into college football and loving college football. And I've said plenty of times, like A&M football is all we cared about in my household growing up. I mean, I'm sitting in a room in my dad's office. You can see his diploma right here. So obviously I grew up loving guys like Sir Parker and Jamar Toombs. But to me, the guy that gave me the most like falling in love with college football was a guy from Lufkin, Texas, named Reggie McNeil. He was A&M's quarterback when I was in middle school, junior high, whatever you want to call it. And I'll never forget watching him beat Oklahoma. He was Oklahoma was number 1 team in the country. And I was with my dad, and it was just like the coolest memory I have. And then like 10 years after that, A&M beat Alabama with Johnny, but like Reggie McNeil was the type of quarterback that just made me absolutely not only fall in love with A&M even further, but I was right at that perfect age where he made me actually want to learn the game of football. So he is by far my favorite. He didn't pan out. He didn't end up, he was around the same time Vince Young was there, but he didn't pan out in the NFL, and he had some, bad mistakes moving forward. But as far as like college football players that mean the most to me, it's absolutely Reggie McNeil. My dad got me a custom number 1 jersey because A&M only did 12s until Johnny. They only did 12s for the 12th man, but he got me a number 1, got McNeil on the back. Like that to me is like a core memory that I'll never forget.
Liam? I go last. On the big finales, I always go last, buddy.
Sorry, Brandon Walker. For me, it's a bit of a homer pick, but the guy that sticks out is Jonathan Franklin, UCLA running back. Growing up being a UCLA fan, let me tell you this. Yikes. You don't win. You just don't win football games, and we don't beat USC. We had lost to USC the first 3 years of Franklin's career. And then 2012, we beat him 38-28. And I as vividly remember Jonathan Franklin kind of putting that game away with a rushing touchdown, and the rain was dropping down in the Rose Bowl, and it was sick. And I thought UCLA might be on the come up, and we kind of were, but not all the way. And we've fallen all the way back down, and I miss the days of having a Jonathan Franklin or a Jordan Payton or a Jordan Lasley. Oh, man, we're done. Darren Andrews. Jaleel Wadood. We're done.
The question was favorite player.
Jonathan Franklin, I said. And
I know. Then you started naming every player you've ever heard of.
No, I was giving honorable UCLA mentions.
I know. That's why I'm stopping you.
Fine. Brandon Walker, beautiful.
Brandon Walker, who is your favorite college football player?
I mean, there's no suspense here whatsoever.
No, I mean, it's Dak
not even a hair of suspense. Big Ev, you and I lead different college football lives, okay? You root for a team that is routinely around number one in the playoffs, that has won national titles. I do not, and I accept that. I know where we stand. But in the fall of 2014, for 5 glorious weeks, Dak Prescott had this town and school on top of we were number one. We didn't finish in the playoffs, fine, whatever. He had Mississippi State number one. I had never the record for passing touchdowns before he got here was 16 in the season. We had never had a good quarterback ever. He walks in, takes us to number one, becomes the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, shows us everything that's possible. I'm right now in a left field loft at Duty Noble Field. I'm not sure this building would be here if Dak Prescott hadn't played at Mississippi State.
It wouldn't. It absolutely wouldn't.
There's construction going on this campus. I'm not sure what happened if he had never played here. Dak Prescott changed everything about what it meant to be Mississippi State, and he will forever be my favorite player, which is weird because he didn't play until I was 35 years old. But he is
I'm taking one when I was like 11, but right. I get it. But
most of my answers would be when I'm like 8, 9. But Dak Prescott changed Mississippi State University for the better and put us on the map. Yes.
Brandon, I know I've told you this, and I know people give you shit about Starkville, which I don't agree with because I think Starkville is actually a very fun college town and it's easy to pick on. But I don't know if I've seen many college towns the way that Starkville was that night that you beat Auburn, because I was there for this on the sidelines for SportsCenter, and I remember looking around and being like, no, it's not the biggest stadium I've ever been in. No, it's not like the biggest fan base. No, it's not the most fun, but holy shit, this school is going to party its ass off tonight. That was so cool.
My favorite moment in the history of watching sports.
Like it was just unbelievable, like running out there on the field and just seeing, I don't just say that because it's you. Like that is one of my top memories of covering sports on the sidelines, because it was just like you said, you're not used to being there, and I totally get that. So I don't blame you.
That was a fun nostalgia podcast. That might be our longest non-football night podcast of all time.
I mean, it has to be. I don't know if we've ever gone over 2 hours in the off season.
Yeah, well,
and we had more. Like I had more categories to go, but we don't need them.
I thought it was a good use of 2 hours. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Otherwise, Big F, thank you. Liam, thank you. Everybody did good. That's unnecessary roughness.
No balloons.